So this is Plat 1's 2018 facility plan meeting with the School Facilities Division of the State Construction Department, and we'll introduce ourselves around the table.
Joel McDaniel, Business Manager.
Lyndon Miller, Head of Maintenance.
Amber Leach, Planning.
Troy Decker, Planning.
Charlie Kaufman, Planning.
Michael Burnett, Project Manager. Brandon Finney, Planning and Finance.
All right, well, thanks for joining us, everybody. Unless Dennis joins us, we'll remove him. I think we have everybody else here. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the video camera. Now we'll just have the audio and the screen itself. Okay, you guys do a lot of work on the front end of these. We've kind of changed over the last several years to try to do, the database validation and stuff like that. So we don't have to talk about that stuff necessarily. We'll just kind of go through that. We'll focus in on the highlights of what we do need to talk about as a large group. So just going through here, we do have some Google Earth representations of your different campuses here. I didn't realize your junior high school was so close. I was thinking maybe a block or two off, more than that, but at any rate.
Oh, yeah.
So I know that's been a concern of your guys over time, and we'll certainly talk about that on here. So there's Chugwater, and then I think we had, by the way, where was it here? Glendo, and we're going to see that next week. And we appreciate just allowing us to do that because we haven't been in that. I've never been in it, which is kind of silly because I used to live there. So tracks and deeds, you guys verify that. That does have an impact on your block grant for groundskeepers. So these are important, and I think these have really been improved over time as Charlie's really worked with the different counties and verifying these and what's on record. So appreciate you guys being part of that. Property profiles, gross square footage is important, but more important than that is allowable square footage. And we get ADM numbers from WDE, plug them into our square foot calculator that produces allowable, and that's what you guys get paid for. And vice versa, we send data to them, such as buildings and building numbers and the street addresses and stuff like that. I think they have their own unique building number identification, but we have a crossover, and we can identify their building numbers with ours, and we're probably describing the same building, but just have different numbers in the system. But those are things that go back and forth. So change in status of property that requires commission acknowledgement and approval. So we probably ought to talk about that. Let's see. So I think we have that corrected already.
Yes, it is correct.
It's not, okay, good.
Yeah, we changed that.
Yeah. So it has been changed to active in our database, and we went through, just like everybody, we have to interpret state statute. And we've gone through our own morphing of understanding of surplus and enhanced and stuff like that, and active. And the fact is that you guys owned this building before School Facilities Commission became a reality. And so we're grandfathered in, and we had applied the status there, and that thing qualifies for regular major maintenance. It qualifies for, you can use 10% on it, and you can use your security money on it and stuff like that. So the state does have an obligation to that building, and I think it's an important building. So thank you for pointing that out. And I don't think
The state like to have it. Lyndon would give it to you.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think, to you guys' credit, I don't think it was your fault. I personally think that there was some miscommunication from some of our former administration back in the day about that building. And I think that's why and how it got put on as surplus, or actually because, a couple of years ago it wasn't even on our list, Troy.
I know, but
We need to know
We
there.
talked about it.
yeah, you guys, it's old. You wanted to give it to the city. You had some programs in it. Some lady was using it or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, all those
Yeah.
Have you seen that, Brandon?
stories.
I just remember the discussion.
It is an absolute, it is a gorgeous building from the outside.
Yep, that's the
Just
one.
a beautiful
So, do you guys still have it?
building.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Did the city want it? Last time we were talking, they started.
I wish somebody did.
Yeah, I remember the discussion.
But it's a cool building, and,
Yeah.
and you know, and in one sense, I think we'd all agree, architecturally,
And structurally, it's a yummy.
it's a beautiful
Bones are
building. Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, this actually looks like a school.
The only
Yeah.
place that's structurally bad are these two. And the only reason they're that is because water's got underneath the steps and deteriorated the ground. Otherwise, no. There isn't hardly
Let's
a
leave the
fall
high school
crack
back
over
over here. Okay, sorry. I sense a humor on a Thursday, but
So they, can you use what? Do you guys use, how you maintain it?
Good question.
struggling,
Good
right?
question.
Struggling
That's
with
what-
major
How long
maintenance.
do we have?
Yeah.
Because the boiler went out of it last year.
Okay.
Remember the thing I was telling you yesterday about having our lawn guys come in and say,
Yeah, they would not even
I
set.
don't, I'm not coming back into that room. It's that dangerous. That-
So, and this is again, just, you call it the old junior high school, right?
Yeah.
Rika, okay, good. So our community, okay, so let's talk about, if it's okay, and I know you guys have, obviously it's extra square footage from a capacity, from a capacity analysis, you do not need this building. I mean, you just don't.
Right.
So have you had any internal discussions in the district about what the long-term possibilities are? But let me I'm going to probably come back around here. Later on, we ask you, are you willing to, or not willing, but we look at excess square footage. And if we were to do a study and pay for it, right, and join you guys in a district-wide study for analyzing excess square footage, what can you do with your educational programs in different communities, in the same community, looking at this building as well, would that be a positive opportunity for you guys to explore maybe what the future of this building is?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
Absolutely. Sure.
So it's active, Troy, because they have programs in it?
it's active because it was a pre-1997 building.
Yeah.
Okay, all of those buildings owned by the districts, when the state became responsible for those buildings, okay,
Got sucked
it
in,
was
right?
grandfathered into what would you call it, our
Portfolio.
database, our portfolio.
Yeah.
Okay, and so it was grandfathered in, and so the state does, and I've talked to our attorney multiple times on this. The state has an obligation for that building. Now, obligation to do what, right? I mean, the school district has a choice to use it for whatever they want, but the state has an obligation for that facility from a financial point of view. And, and then you start talking about, did we have that one assessed as well?
We have not had that one assessed.
Okay, so,
No.
Yes, we have.
okay, is it down
So
here?
by having it active, they can use regular.
It is down there.
maintenance on it,
Yeah.
So let's look at here.
Right?
I should have remembered
No,
that.
that's the capacity.
Little Bertha.
They could also demo it if it's part of the portfolio.
There you go.
Sell it for
Oh, we
0.4.
can't though.
Can't demo it?
Well, when Troy gets done here, I wanted him to do a top-down view of that facility.
So community ed is using that, are you leasing it to those ones, you're leasing it to preschool?
We're leasing it to preschool. We've moved our community ed over to the high school campus, all except one class that she holds, and they do a CNA class. That they need a big room, they need dedicated space so they can have all their equipment in there. So they, twice a year, for 2 weeks, they run a CNA class in one of the rooms.
Is that what you want to do?
Is that it? This is from the front?
It's from the top,
Oh,
So, yeah, this would be south.
but they don't have, this is a picture, it doesn't have the rooftops. Units on it.
Is it an older one you said?
so
You put
It's
newer
from
ones in.
2016.
Now we have a rooftop unit over here, and it takes care of Libby, which is this section. Then we
Takes
have,
care of what?
Piccadilly, the daycare,
Preschool.
yeah, the preschool.
Okay.
Then this is the drama, and that is heated by a Modine heater. Then we've got another rooftop unit here that takes care of the gym and is trying to supplement the two-story.
Because there's no heating in this.
There's no heating in the two-story.
What's this over here?
That is, they call it the wrestling room, and it's got two standalone heaters in it. It had a heating unit over here, but it was in such bad shape we had to shut it down.
The boiler that's in there.
The boiler that was in it was right, this is the pipe, and it's right under here.
Natural gas boiler.
Yep, two of them.
And that's not.
And one of them was, only one of them was running, and we've been, over the years, had robbed parts from the one to keep the other one going.
You said it was
Was running. It's gone.
running.
It's out, you know. When it went, well, when we went to fire it up, that was when Long went over and looked at it, and by that point in time, it was starting to drip water on the flame itself. And because we'd already had burn marks on the wall where this had no safety. Once the gas was lit, it was going full blast until something turned it off. There was no safety on it whatsoever. We had burn marks on the wall where the flames had come out. Yeah. And when Long set foot in there, they said, we're not even touching this thing.
Okay, so
So here's our dilemma with this building. So, this part here, this isn't the new addition, and this was built with London in the 70s.
No. No, it was later than that, 80 something.
you can tell you're in a small town community.
No, it
New
wasn't
additions
80s, because I was in that building 77
Was it 70?
when I was in junior high school, and we had that.
It had to be in the 70s.
Yeah, it had to be in the 70s. So anyways, this is where we have a daycare preschool here. They rent space from us. Our dilemma, as far as they go, is we have, like probably everywhere, we have a real shortage of daycare in our town. And basically, this is, I think, one of very few, I think it's the only non-home daycare. And so we feel obligated to help them, you know, stay on, because a lot of our,
Subsidizing it probably.
oh yeah,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, we actually, they just sold it, and new owners took over this summer, and when they took over, we raised the rent. Yeah, we almost doubled the rent, so, and they didn't like that. But anyways,
Yeah, I bet.
so a lot of our employees, including myself, have used them, and so, you know, I feel obligated to help them as much as we can there. Now, if we were to close, let's say we were to shut this building down or something, you know, I would try to help them maybe find another spot somewhere in town, whether it's one of our facilities or somewhere else. I don't know.
Community service.
Yeah.
Is important.
So, and then, so here, this was the main gym here, and then this is a multi-purpose room. That's where the lunchroom was when the school was running. So that, the multi-purpose room is where our wrestling program. So it has mats permanently in it. They're down all the time. And our wrestling program at the high school and our middle school use that, plus then our community wrestling organization.
And then that bottom main portion is vacant right now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because there's no
One,
heat.
yeah. If it was totally left up to Lyndon and I, we wanted to completely shut this part down. That's not happening. And things are slowly creeping back in there. So now they're starting to use it as storage for certain things. We do have one community member that uses this front room up here for a spinning class. And there's lots of politics involved now, and we haven't been able to get her out. But other than that, that's about it. That building doesn't, like I said, doesn't have any heat in it anymore, and we try to keep it somewhat warm.
And see, I can average hallways, I'm getting 55, 60 degrees a day.
Yeah.
Outside walls, I'm averaging about So, and the only good thing is all the water is on the interior. So,
So the gym area, and I don't know all the specifics behind this, but some of our PE classes go over there from time to time and use that. Because we only have one gym at the high school. And then our sports teams use it all the time. All the time. And so between our sports teams and then our Parks and Rec, that place is busy almost every night. Every night there's something going on.
So what I just heard was it's killing my budget, but people are using it and sucking it off.
Yeah, I don't know if it's killing our
Sorry,
budget, but
that's
it's
how
not helping our budget.
Yeah, it's not helping.
Yeah.
From a
Because we were-
facilities aspect.
We were thinking, no, probably before this year, we were thinking probably 25,000 a year in utilities.
In
building.
utilities alone.
But the only rent you have in it is the high school.
Yeah, you only got revenue from one stream.
You're not taking anything else revenue.
They doubled that from 200 to 400.
Right.
No, actually 400 to 750.
Oh, for that big a space, a commercial,
and then,
that's a smoke.
And they complain.
You're subsidizing it.
That's
That's
right.
Oh yeah, and they complained about that.
Yeah.
When we raised it.
Yeah, so the facility part makes sense. The political and you got emotions and kids and people, you know.
and when,
That's the hard part.
and before we kicked everybody out of the two-story part, there was 41 entities using it. 41.
What's your
Paying,
board?
any of them paying?
One
What's
paying.
your board?
One paying.
Like your school board, you know.
I don't think they really care. I mean,
Well, we've had meetings about closing it down and then.
Right.
So we're going to get down to that discussion, and we'll probably have a little more thorough. But at least we captured what you're using it for, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's something that I know you guys want to talk about, and the state would love to talk about. So we'll do that then. Okay, so appropriations. Looking down here, then we've got 1126 Glendo bus barn demolition, open final payment. So open final payment to the contractor. So that means you haven't paid that final payment.
where are you at? Oh yeah.
Yeah, we need to keep the bus barn demo still open and
Yeah.
the new transportation building still.
Okay, which is where's the new transportation?
It's,
It's 1183.
1183. Okay.
How about the living?
That's good. Okay.
Yeah, looks like you spent all the money.
So 1127. Project complete. No funds remaining. 1183.
Keep it open.
Okay, and that's right. The transportation building.
We're going on 2667 at concession.
Yeah, that's
That one
done. That's done.
Okay, revert remaining funds, right, on that one?
Yeah, it's not let me take Charlie. That's
I
weird.
got it.
Yeah.
You guys fight over who's good.
Well, I went to click and he clicked and I wouldn't do it.
I didn't know if he was in there.
You have to forgive him because I'm like Charlie. We need to get this stuff done, and so he's like, John, he's just all over it.
Hold on, it's not allowing me to type.
So
You take Charlie.
My job
Fair
is
enough.
done.
you
and
can't
then I
touch it
send
anymore,
back to
Brandon.
you.
We're all
It
over it.
blocked
Right
me
now.
out.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm working on
Maybe
the
it's 'cause
next
you're
one
in the
right now.
Same,
yeah.
I bet that was it. You guys were in the
We're
same
both
side.
in the.
Okay, did we capture them okay, guys? Let's see.
I'm working on stuff. I got two more here. Out on the process. And that last one. Yep.
Okay, we're good?
There you go, Vinny.
Okay. And then I know you guys are, we're gonna go up and talk a little more, and Michael, are you gonna join us? Or Bob?
It's on my schedule.
Next week.
Actually.
And I kind of talked to Shelby, you both, on that bus barn, but you guys will have
Yeah.
some kind of information that,
Yeah, and I've also discussed it with Shelby, and so she just needs to make a decision as to whether we can use the money that's sitting in the new transportation building to asphalt the dirt mud area on the site there.
In Glendale?
Yeah. And then
That'd be
those two shipping containers right now.
That's right here,
Rather
right.
than the school, do you want to move them to that site or the bus parties?
We talked about moving one of them, but
Yeah.
at that point, the way the electrical's hooked up to them, the one we want to move, we'd have to move the other one over to hook the electrical back up to it. So I don't know what's going to happen with
Yeah,
that.
so we got a scope of work and a rough cost estimate from ABI, from Scott Howard, and that's what Shelby has now that she's reviewing. So, and if she was here today, hopefully she could have given us word. She's supposed to be here tomorrow, so
Was that
it's on her
moving,
plate.
was that moving the fuel? over
Yeah,
there
it
to-
is moving the fuel tank.
Well,
Or
I
even
mean, that's
replacing
on
it.
you guys.
Yeah.
I was figured we'd replace the fuel tank.
Yeah.
Since it's leaking, right?
Well, the pump.
Yeah.
The pump is leaking.
Scott and I
Our
looked at it.
transportation director says that people are always trying to get fuel out of it.
Somebody tried to damage it and get the pump to work.
Gotcha.
It's like,
Gotta beat it up a little
And
bit.
it's not really a pump, it's just one of those old turn valves that are gravity.
Oh, so like a ranch tank.
I don't know, how does he have it locked? I mean, does he have a
Padlock.
There's a padlock.
Yeah.
But if you sit there and work a
Yeah,
padlock,
you
just,
can,
you can get it.
Yeah, he said
Okay,
they bend,
not
something they bend it.
Yeah, they
and
bend it,
starts
starts turning the quarter of a turn.
But he said it doesn't leak all the time, you know. He didn't make it sound anything like, what's her name up in Glenda.
No.
It's only a few gallons a day, don't worry about it.
Just don't smoke around that thing.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay, well, we will be up there, we'll look at it, if Michael joins us, hopefully he'll have some information, if not, I know you guys will work that out. I don't know, as I've looked at that, for whatever my opinion is, it's like, you're trying to remedy the bus barn, right? And part of that is having appropriate surface to have buses on there, and for safety reasons, but also just the integrity of the surface for parking buses on a regular basis.
And the fuel, I mean, the fuel, you know, the fuel tank, why it's been where it's at.
Yeah, I don't
Or
know.
I don't know, I mean, that's not a very good place at all to have it, but.
Because they used to have fuel tanks over there where the bus barn was, and for some reason they really got moved over to that. I don't know.
Okay, so that looks good, and again, thank you for allowing us to come up and look at the school there and take a look at that as well. Okay, so with that then, on to security, Michael.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna recap some of this. It looks like you guys have fully encumbered your money, which the intent of going over this is to encourage districts really to spend all the security money. So, but just to recap and get it on the record. The original funding was out of the 2014 House Enrolled Act 56, it was $9 million. The funded projects were defined in the 2015 Senate Act 89. The most effective element to provide school security to a common level statewide was calibrated to the 8 top priority security elements. Additional major maintenance funding was allowed in House Act 12. And districts can, usually with major maintenance, you can't add new components or elements. So it allowed districts to add new items as well as it allowed soft cost to be put over in major maintenance, including design. The goal of security funding is intended to give each district an equal opportunity to provide security to the security standards for the K-12 schools. Out of the 2017 supplemental budget session, the legislature proposed an additional just shy of 18 million for the next 2 security priority items, but they were not encouraged that a lot of the districts had not spent the money yet that they had. And then there was just a bullet point here that there was a security conference that SIU had. But it does look like you guys have 86,000 still available through major maintenance security. Do you guys have any thoughts or plans for that? And I guess another question would be if they don't use it for security, that could be used for any other major maintenance.
Yeah, it's got some flexibility to it.
Well,
Yeah, they
I
don't
mean,
have
we-
to use
yeah,
it.
it's got
we're trying to, with what Colorado Doorway Solutions did at the high school, because when Bruce started the whole electronics part of the door controls, he was buying the not standalone, but electrified hardware. But it was like, by the time you bought the hardware, the hinge, the wired hinge, the hinge harness, you had like $1,600 in the door.
8-door?
Yeah, a door. So Colorado, when we did the security at the high school, they said, well, easier and cheaper way would be replace the latch, put electric latch on it, controller, you're down to about $600 to $700 a door. So we did most of the exterior doors of the high school. Me and the IT guy walked through a couple of days ago, and we made a list of 9 more doors that we would like to get them on the system. And that was why I questioned you about that money, if we had anything left, because I wanted to buy that.
Yeah, so that, this could be used for those 9 more doors.
Okay.
Point of entry, they spend all that.
Yeah, it's all been encumbered and down.
Yeah, plans.
Yeah, because I know that one pallet of door hardware that Bruce got when he was told, that was $75,000 worth of door hardware. Came in, yeah.
Okay, we good?
But yeah, we've still got, we'll get it down to a rough number.
Or like I was saying, if the need, because I know you guys are under stress with just major maintenance in general, if you need to use that 86 over in regular major maintenance.
we do, but we need to, that's what I was telling you about, how that list isn't updated, because we need to spend about 8,000 or 9,000 to finish that off.
Okay.
And so we're gonna do that, so we can label that stuff as securities.
And then at that point in time, I mean, all of the schools should be, the controlled access to the schools will be pretty much completed.
And that's roughly, and just to get my head around this, that's roughly about $1,600 a door.
Well, if I go the route I'm going, you're looking at 7 to 8, I mean, on the worst.
Per door, so.
Per door, yeah.
750.
Instead of
Well, what were you guys talking about this morning? So you're talking the
Yeah,
9,000
the-
for 9 doors. 8 or 9,000 for 9 doors.
Yeah, because he was adding in the,
So maybe $7,000 roughly for 9.
Who comes puts that stuff on? Oh, you do yourself?
Yeah.
Guys?
yeah, because we had, like I said, we had Colorado Solutions come up. And the first doors they did over at the middle school, the wooden doors, they came in, they drilled a hole through the door jamb, brought a cased wire out the door jamb, and went into the panic bar. And I said, this is a middle school. You can't have the wire come out. They will tear that right off the wall.
Yeah.
So I had to give them 3 of our wired hinges to run everything through the door interior. I said, you can't put anything outside. They're going to grab it right off the
Plus
wall.
all the traffic,
Yeah.
people using it.
So,
Rookies.
well, I said, oh,
No, we haven't been real happy with their.
not real impressed with their.
Yeah. Such a special.
Granted, they did show us a cheaper way to do it per door. I mean, other than using the complete unit. Because like I said, by the time you do the door hard, you got a 3-foot wired harness, and if it's a metal door, I had to bore a hole through the center of the door in order to get that wiring harness from the hinge to the lock mechanism. And, it took a lot per door to get that done. Where they just come in and basically go down the center mullion or the jamb and put electric latch in. All you have is 24 volts. So you got a power source, a controller, and an electric latch. So you're doing away with a lot of that labor and the cost of it. Yeah. But
One of
the
the
problem
issues
is
we're
Bruce ordered, I've got electrified hinges that are basically a hinge that one hinge is almost $100 and some odd dollars. It has wires running through it. And I got boxes of them. But that's been like everything I've found. I've got,
Maybe you could use my LG.
well, that's, it is all electrified over there. He ordered locks for that too.
All righty, down to capacity. Charlie.
Very good. So for our methodology, for the SOC methodology, we figure out the capacities for each of the buildings. And we do that on a space by space basis. I know I sent location reports to you recently, Joel, on those for Chugwater, for Glendale. And so, for example, in Glendale, we actually do a campus total for them for all the buildings that they have. So, but anyways, so going through that real quick, then you can just look through here. No real capacity concerns at this point. Nothing. When we start looking at it, it makes the low priority capacities are between 90 and 95%. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. But here, overall, the district's in good shape in terms of capacity and being able to use the buildings.
So it's the Chugwater. Go back up, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
The second one down,
Yeah.
I just had to bring up, I saved this flyer, I think Troy
We're
talked to
trying
you
to
guys
approach
about.
students.
We got actually
Yeah.
those as well.
So I got this and I was wondering what you guys ended up doing with this.
Well, first of all, that wasn't us.
Yeah.
It's all right.
For the
Okay,
record,
don't
that
worry.
was
That's
not.
So I saved it and pinned it on my wall.
Yeah, I want to see it. I've heard lots about it.
You haven't seen it?
No.
No, I've never seen this.
Yeah. Well, we saw
Still
you
to
guys.
this day, I mean, a month ago when we were down here for our business meetings, Mike Wiggum is still giving me crap about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've told Mike 10 times, Mike, that was not us. That wasn't the district that was trying to recruit your
We
students.
didn't even know what was happening.
So,
Yeah, one of those in my.
so Charlie, the 712 is 9% capacity?
Yes. So going through that building, you have a variety of spaces. You have to do that, but yeah, right now currently 18 enrolled, 191 for the building.
It's a nice building.
So do you guys go to K-12?
So there is, so a couple things that we've discussed in the past with that school, and Joel was great enough to take us out there, is you have the cafeteria in the elementary school. There's no food service in the high school, right?
No.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I didn't speak out of turn there. So that, as of right now, there is no food service in the high school, so there'd have to be some work done on.
Once again, you know, I was not very forward thinking when they designed that building. So,
It's funny.
Yeah.
So this is the
Joel did a
elementary.
good job with that print brochure, didn't he?
The elementary's over one. Yeah, that is a gymnasium, correct.
I was sleeping when I did it.
Dennis, did you join us?
I did. I was actually sitting at a different link that was sitting out in email, so I apologize. I was requesting to join your conference, and it just kept spinning for quite a while. So, but I've got another webinar running on my desktop computer as well. So,
Okay.
so if that's causing some problems with, I'm trying to listen to both as we go here. So,
No problem. I think we're okay.
that's causing.
How long have you been able to join us? How long have you been with us?
Just about 45 seconds or so.
Okay, good. We were just kind of talking about capacity and stuff like that. So Brandon had some questions on Chugwater, but we are going to talk about a little bit about a potential study over there with you guys. So what we do know is that you're under capacity in all your buildings, and some are dramatically under capacity, and that's the only observation we really have at this point. So we'll move on to enrollment projections. So this is just Wheatland basically, this enrollment projection. And so your average in kindergarten is 74. You guys have been running just a little bit above that last couple of years. Of course, you had a few years drop, but you're an agricultural community. Obviously, you guys are pretty stable with regard to your year-to-year numbers. From if you just took your Wheatland schools K to 6, you've got an average of 69 students per grade, and then basically your 7-12, your average is 69. So just identical there, which is kind of interesting in and of itself. You can see down here on your Wheatland numbers, you know, your average there would be running about 917. I'm looking on the other screen. No problem. And so obviously, guys, as you've gone through the last decade, you guys kind of dropped down nearer to the 900 mark. You used to be higher than that back in the day, and this is typical across the state. We see this in every single school district. And I think it has to do, to be honest with you, I mean, it probably has to do more with the birth rate almost than anything else, but it could be economy related as well. So, but that's consistent across the state.
We're actually up a little bit this year.
Kind of.
120, a little bit above, or 1,020.
Oh, really?
As a whole. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a significant
We're up
increase.
at-
then,
Well,
right?
no, this is just, he's talking about
This
Glendale
year.
and Chugwater as well.
Oh, as a
Glendale's
whole.
up to
Got it.
60
Yeah.
some kids. Chug's about the same, but Glendale's up a
Yeah.
little. And then we're up a little bit too.
This is typical in an agricultural community. You guys have some really, really good survival rates. In fact,
And that junior year.
phenomenal. So,
Yeah, this is higher, isn't it, Troy, than most of them?
Yeah,
Right
it
there?
is one of the higher ones.
Well, it's because the smaller the communities are. You go to
Just
school, you
retain
don't
the-
just drop out. I don't know. You keep you engaged and stuff. Yeah. That's
It's-
good.
It's a bit different, but the statewide we struggle in that junior year, and that's not new. I mean, that's across the whole state. Issues. It's definitely not new for you guys on that.
so from a statewide basis, you guys have nothing to complain about. This is interesting, Dennis. When you have a kindergarten to first grade, you do have a 90% survival rate. And we've learned over the years that basically what that's saying is that you probably have probably retained some students who don't advance in the first grade on a regular basis, and maybe have a different one more year in kindergarten. Would that be accurate?
That's exactly right. We have something called developmental kindergarten, and so it's kind of built in where it's expected that those students come in low, and if they don't make more than 1 year's worth of growth and have them ready for first grade, that they will stay in kindergarten for a year. And so that's why that rate is a little bit lower.
Gotcha.
So I guess you could see that in both ways. You could say it's only a 90% survival rate, or you could say it's a 90% success rate. And different districts have different strategies. We've heard both sides, educational, like any educational philosophy or research. We've heard both sides of that. Most districts are saying it's better to perhaps hold them one more year, help them get developmentally ready for the next year, and then bring them into first grade. We've heard at least one other district that said they haven't really found research to support that, and think that data may not be as clear as what people may think. So we don't know, and we're not educational professionals. We just know that there are different strategies within districts across the state. And this is the
best. Sorry, Troy, but the best way to explain it is an early childhood model. All the research is back in early childhood and kindergarten readiness, and so in our community, we've got a ton of kids that are from low socioeconomic, and so they're not ready for kindergarten. And it takes us a year without a state-supported early childhood system to basically get them up to that point so they're ready for first grade, or actually getting them ready for regular kindergarten. So it's more of an early childhood hybrid model than it is anything else. So just if you're talking to other people across the state or whatever else, that's the way we look at it, is a 5-year-old early childhood model.
Yeah, and you guys are getting paid out of the block grant for those students, right? All of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, good discussion. It's kind of interesting to see, and I would say by far the majority of school districts have this kind of model for helping the kindergartners as they're coming into the system and making sure that they're appropriately ready to start advancing through the grades as they move toward.
And what's kind of interesting about that dynamic is the people that tend to not value education as much as others, they look at that as a detriment to their kid, saying, I'm not putting my kid in that because they're saying my kid, is behind. My kid's not behind, Whereas there's other people, like for myself, I've had 2 of my 3 kids have been in it, and it's no, we want them in there because they're young, they're still a little bit too immature, and this is just going to help them, just like what Dan said, be more ready for kindergarten. It's kind of interesting how you always play on that dynamic. The other thing that at our business manager meeting that we had, and Brian Farmer came and he spoke to us, and I was actually just a little bit surprised at how vocal he was about the whole early childhood thing. Basically, what he told us was, he said it's not going to go through right now where that's going to come under the umbrella of WDE and it's going to be run by school districts. But he said it's coming down the pike. So he said if I was you, I would start having those conversations. I thought that was kind of interesting that he would say that, but he did.
Interesting. Statewide capacity.
Absolutely. So per SSC policy 2013-20, every year we prioritize our capacity needs based on whether high, medium, and low priorities, high being 100% above, medium between 95 and 100%, and low between 90 and 95%. And so this is more than anything for your information. And we just kind of look at that as a statewide and prioritize that yearly. So not too much.
Dennis, we don't anticipate you being there for at least 2 more years, so high priority. Okay, yeah, you were kind of questioning some of the calculations capacity. You received those, Joel.
Yeah. Well, my thought was, I don't know which one it was. Chug water, 219 kids or whatever. There'd be so many other issues that we'd have to deal with to have 300 kids in that building.
Right.
Like we don't have a lunchroom in there, things like that. But I understand.
Okay. Well, I think the important thing for us is make sure that you understand we're not taking non-teaching stations and sometimes there's a misunderstanding. You don't have that misunderstanding, but we just want to make sure we communicate that we're only calculating on teaching station. And then, yeah, you're right. I mean, some school districts, you look at a building and you go, there's no way we can fit that in there and actually have education. So we respect that and find what the methodology is and move on from there.
Yeah, a lot of that is just make sure we clarify everything, and we have been accused of using mezzanine space on that as well. No, people, just teaching stations.
Major maintenance calculations, allowable square footage, and I think we should have a little bit longer talk here on this, but why don't you introduce our...
Sure. So when we go through the major maintenance calculator and calculations every year, we get the same question. How do you guys calculate the major maintenance payment? So 2 pieces to it. You have the ADM, which is your average daily membership, which drives an allowable square footage. So you're looking at the square footage here in your district. You get paid for 230,912 square feet, and this is last year's calculation. So that's how much you got paid for last year. You have 390,989 educational square footage. So there's a couple things, and we'll talk about more of it as we go along. But the first thing that we talk about is that last year we tried to close the gap. So we did a study, conducted a study, tried to pump up the RS means value, replacement value, so from $169 to $221 a square foot, and then tried to raise the current replacement value from 2% to 2.5%. So we get more major maintenance dollars for the district. That failed at select committee. The only thing that did survive out of all the efforts was the 7-year phase-in. Unfortunately, because it doesn't affect you. So really, kind of for us as a department, we really want trying to embrace the spirit of asset preservation, you would have to find ways to be able to bring that up to be less with that leverage.
Got it. Delta, about 150,000 square feet town.
District wide?
Yeah, for educational space only.
So there is, talk about that in a couple ways. So you have the rural schools that aren't very full right now. So there's that, and then you talk about what's going on in town.
So we have flagged you guys. I told you guys previously that we're doing a study in Riverton on basically they have excess square footage. And so we're going through a study there. We're hoping that'll be presented. It'd be nice if in the May meeting, which would be, is that Athens?
That is
Level. In Level. So kind of track that. I mean, and it'll be on the agenda, but it wouldn't hurt for you guys. I mean, it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be a very interesting outcome in this. And, so you guys know that we have a capacity list statewide. We make recommendations to the commission, and then, based on their methodologies and policies, to the select committee, and then we have a condition list. And of course, the capacity list isn't looking at under capacity; it's looking at over capacity, right? I mean, obviously, over capacity is an issue where it's more important that at least the legislature felt it's more important to address seats that don't have the students don't have the space versus not. So what we're trying to do and what we have done is just kind of basically use that as a pilot study. We're going to present it to the commission. It's going to be some really interesting discussion, I think. I think it would be a great opportunity, Joel, if you could be there to stand up and maybe tell your story just a little bit or something like that. But what we're really trying to do, I think, down the road is we recognize that if there are opportunities for districts I think that it's one thing for you guys to initiate, and it's probably not a very comfortable conversation if you guys were to initiate that conversation internally and start talking about excess square footage in communities and I think there's some political nature of the beginning of that conversation that, well, why would you bring that up and what impact? So I think what we're trying to do is, would it be of value to you guys if the state would come in and offer some money for a planning study, bring a professional out, and we've been very pleased so far with the two studies we've done most recently, and they're a little bit different, I would say, in certain aspects. But the one in Riverton particularly is specifically down this pathway of we've got more square footage we need, we have more expenditures we need, and over there it's kind of interesting because Terry Snyder, Dennis, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But he started out with their old TAC building, the Community Center, 60-some thousand square feet. He's like, there is no way politically we can get rid of this building. And about a month and a half ago, we were running through the latest version of that study. And he's like, there's no way we can't get rid of that building. And so the school district is basically, and they're doing a great job of communicating with the community and involving them and stakeholder input and just looking at how it can help them deliver education better within the district, how it can help them preserve the number of teachers they have to the best of their ability within the district. And so it's very educational focused, but it's also, it is very focused on the fact that there are limited funds through the block grant. And so how do you maximize your opportunities with the funds you have, assure quality education to students and meet their needs, and be responsible with not only educational and staffing and teachers and salaries, utilities and all those and food service and all those expenditures, but also looking at opportunities. Can we somehow do some things here where our major maintenance is being thinned out by hundreds of thousands of potentially square feet over what what you really need? And is there a way that we can kind of maybe trim that down to focus in and really have our facilities dollars provided through major maintenance or future capital, whatever, opportunities for us to use those to the best of our ability to really make the best educational environments possible with the condition of those buildings. So that's kind
Troy,
of.
can I ask one?
Go ahead, Dennis.
Can I ask one question on it? How many new schools has School Facilities Division and Commission built for Fremont 25? I think that's what is Terry's district? How many new schools has the state built for them?
Yeah, two elementaries.
Okay. If you build us one, we can operate a lot more efficiently too. So again, it goes back to we're trying to bleed blood from a turnip here, where again we've got an old junior high that we need to keep in operation. Is it effective? Is it efficient? No. We're trying to operate two separate elementaries because we can't fit them all into one at this moment, and we're probably going to get to that discussion with Anthony's drawings and whatever else. And we would need a slight addition to that. And we could also, look at those efficiencies. Right now, we can't even look at them. We've got asbestos-laced buildings that we can't touch. We've got more buildings broken out. And again, are they at each one at full capacity? No, but we can't do anything with them because they're only partially full, each one of them. And so to solve part of our problems is to really get one decent one and move our K5 into that. And so that's kind of where we're at. So again, it's a lot. We built additions, and when I taught, I was a part of a brand new building. It's a lot more efficient to operate a brand new building or a brand new addition to a building than it is what we're faced to do here with buildings that were built in the 50s and trying to maintain.
Yeah, I think you're talking about educational suitability along with everything else.
It's a dilemma for us.
Well, it's a difficult conversation. It's a difficult conversation for the state because we do have very well historically and legislatively and policy and rules and regs and methodologies that kind of categorize potential opportunities for capital funding in very specific ways. Or funnels, maybe I should say funnels or something like that. And so we're trying to open up an opportunity to discuss this and look at it perhaps at a different angle. Not promising anything outside of the fact that we're at least interested in helping joining districts to maybe look at things a little bit differently and see if there are opportunities within communities. So anyway, we do have you guys flagged. I'm telling you, these are, I think Terry Snyder and Dennis, if you ever just want to call him and ask him about that process, I have been so impressed with him. At first I was thinking Terry's pretty well he's a closed door when the options come, and just how he's really worked with his community and staff and us and the consultant to explore maybe opportunities that aren't necessarily outside of the existing paradigms of decision making at the state level, but kind of bring in a new look at the data and an opportunity for him maybe to make his school district even all the better with facilities and perhaps less facilities than he has. So I don't know where that can go, but we'll do that presentation. I hope you're there to look at that and maybe discuss more thoroughly and maybe have some open discussion with the commission as well. Some of the challenges you guys are facing, but an opportunity then for us maybe to apply that in a broader spectrum with districts across the state who have any interest whatsoever in that.
Are you talking about going out for a bond issue in his district, or?
We're talking about, it's kind of interesting because they have I think their high school is 67%, 67% full capacity, 65%. And so, yeah, I mean, they're looking at, listen, if we were to take out of the TAC building these programs, move them to other places, and they did the puzzle thing. I mean, they're putting these programs and here's different options and stuff. And, so yeah, I mean, I think he's kind of thought about, maybe potentially with district resources or bonding or something like that. He's not dying on that hill, and he's not dying on the hill of, we have to add to the square footage no matter what for us to do this. I think we found a scenario that the scenario that's going to, according to him, that's going to work and needs to work and must work is to get rid of the TAC building, 60-some thousand square feet. I mean, he's like, to me, it's a no-brainer. We have to go down this. We're convinced we have to go down this path. Now the question is, what does that look like? We would love to have a wrestling room added to our high school on the side. Can the state pay for that? Well, there's no funding mechanism for that. So instead of taking the scenario and making it a do or die on the hill kind of scenario, the scenario says, okay, we're getting rid of the TAC building. Now, here's some sub options to that scenario. One is, we could, I mean, he's going to ask, can someone out there pay for additional square footage when we're only at 65% capacity? And, our answer as a department is, no, we can't add. We can't add to a building that's way under capacity. It's basically a utilization issue. But he's got other spaces that he has options to put the wrestling program in. Now the question is, if we get rid of a 60-some thousand square foot building, and they're actually not isolating, but integrating these different activities or education or extracurricular activities into their existing high school, are there potentially capital monies available for that to a limited degree? Or could they have permission to use major maintenance, maybe in a little bit broader sense, in order to make that? So we're exploring all of that. It's new to us. It's a new perspective. It's difficult to talk about when we have such well-defined categories for funding. But we're having the discussions, and we're trying not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And at the same time, we're not trying to, they're trying not to overstate their position and basically say, listen, if this can't happen, then it won't happen at all. But they recognize that if they stay where they are, it's going to cost the state tens of millions of dollars in the long run, and it's going to cost him and his district from a financial point of view and from an educational point of view. He feels like it's going to cost them probably a greater impact on them in that way than maybe make more difficult decisions relating to getting rid of an old school that is, very, very important to people who have been around for a long time. So those are the discussions going on.
Yep, and we've had those discussions too, Troy. I mean, if you allow us to use major maintenance money to enter into a lease purchase or some other ability to hire an outside contractor to add on to the south side of our gym to be able to put bleachers there, or to put up a type of metal structure where the cafeteria is. But again, we can't add 1 square footage, what we're told by the school facilities division. We can't add 1 square foot without your approval on it. And then it's like, okay, how are we going to fund it? There's no funding mechanism. So again, yeah, we've explored those opportunities too. And I remember Brian Monteith and others talking about trying to, or I guess it was the SFD director, McComey, talking about trying to create that, freeing that up. So again, yeah, if there's some freedom with things that we can take a look at, I think we've already had some of those discussions with you and also locally. And I don't know what we would do over at like West Elementary to add classroom space and possibly an additional gym. And it's not a lot that we would have to add, but we could, if we did that, we could close up one whole building and get us closer to what our square footage requirements are, and cut our utilities and maintenance and everything else costs. So yeah, we're ready. So if Fremont, 25 is the first one, great. But we're ready to go down that road as well. So get rid of that old junior high. So.
And we have had those discussions about the 169% square footage. Many times we said that in meetings. this is where we're at. This is what we have to work on as part of the budget, you know. And I think it would be great to bring some other expert in and give us some other options potentially on how to use our educational space better. My concern and fear with that is it seems like we have like Dennis said, we've looked at a lot of different options with you guys, you know, with your help, some of the engineers and architects in this state. It seems to me like though it always comes back to we can do this, but it's going to take some more money in order to do it. Because we can change this, but to change it, we got to remodel and we got to do this and we got to do that. That's my concern. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Same with, we got the space. We've got most of the space out at Libby to absorb almost the entire Libby population, but we can't do it the way it's sitting right now. We've got to do some major remodeling in order to do that. And that's one of the things that Dennis was talking about that we've been talking to the architect about. And then my other thought, and going back to my statement about it's a dilemma, is we have 22 buildings in the district. We get funded $530,000 through the model for utilities. Last year we spent $750,000. So there's inefficiencies everywhere in our facilities. We recognize that. We try to do whatever we can with our major maintenance money and working with you guys with component money. You know, but for me right now, it seems like we're losing ground, gaining ground, and that's why it's frustrating.
So if there was a pilot, or if there was a study done, that study would recommend if they were going to close the building, move operations to the building, it would recommend probably appropriation for it. Et cetera.
And repurposing those rooms.
Or repurposing, remodel. And that cost, I mean, I think everyone it's something that we unduly more.
Yeah, again, you know, we're kind of in a really, the state has never looked at it from this angle. Okay, so if you're gonna save X number of dollars over the next 20 years in this district, okay, what does it take for the district to be able to do that, okay, from an educational point of view? And so that's really tough. Because again, you you guys are talking about, so we can look at percentages and stuff, and I guess, you know, we recognize it's an uncomfortable conversation. Okay, I mean, should we, because we have these preset silos, okay, which we do, they're preset, okay, and we cannot change those silos. Okay, legislature can, the governor can through signing the legislative bills, okay, but we cannot. And so the question is, you know, part of the issue is awareness. I think as the state looks at as the state looks at the inventory that districts own, okay, are there opportunities for the state to save money down the road? And so we're trying, it's an educational process. It's looking at something from a different angle, not the same category silos that we've always looked at, and then having some uncomfortable conversations. Is there any guarantee of, okay, I mean, so Dennis, for you, and we're really good at this anymore because we recognize we don't overpromise and underdeliver. That's not our job. Our job is to enable you realistically to look at things, and then you guys to discuss internally. We will provide, if the School Facilities Commission would approve something like this after we talk about Fremont 25, we'd like to say, hey, after looking at this, would you be willing maybe for other school districts to maybe do this? And here are some opportunities or options for school districts. You guys can raise your hands. But it is an uncomfortable conversation. It doesn't fit. And maybe the school district comes back and says, yeah, we can get rid of that building, and that building if you will add 5,000 square feet onto this, okay? We think it can happen. But our building is only 82% full if we were to do that. And so, but educationally, this is why we're asking for it. that's a conversation, and I guess if we want an open conversation about that. But again, if just like Terry Snyder, he's like, no way is this going to happen. At the end of this thing, this is going to happen. It has to happen for our school district, and we're willing. Here's the options. But what Terry did that I really appreciate, and every community has to make up its own minds. You know, maybe there's a hill you guys are going to die on. Maybe Dennis, your school board, you guys, after a study goes through, maybe you would look at that and go, hey, we are absolutely unwilling to do this unless you add this square footage, period. And you'll have the ability to say that.
Yeah.
Maybe there are middle road things where you'll say, you know what, maybe we'd love square footage. This is what it would cost. This is what's best for us. However, if we have to cram everything else into this building and meet the needs of the educational of the students, then maybe X number of dollars for repurposing that in order to meet those students' needs. Maybe another scenario under that is, yeah, we're willing to do that, but who knows? So those are the kind of conversations. I hope I answered your question, Michael. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. That's not our job. Our job is simply to allow more open discussion and perhaps explore comfortable opportunities that don't fit into silos, that are pre-designed to either fund or no fund. And to bring, I think, awareness. I mean, again, I think it's like 10 million plus on the TAC building over X number of years if we do nothing.
Well, you just say spent $200,000 a year extra and just block grant, right? 5 years, $1 million.
Yeah.
So can you tell I'm already squirming?
So, we're trying to use processes.
Yeah.
So what our thought is,
we appreciate everything you're doing. We just need the flexibility. We've got those plans, and Anthony, the architect, is coming up with something at West. I would just like us to look at, okay, we know that we're only at whatever percent capacity at Libby. We know that we're under capacity in West, but if you put the two together, then we're over capacity. So how do we create that 100% capacity in one building versus being under capacity in two? I could tell you 3 buildings we can close up right now: Libby, the old junior high, and the weight room. If we do 2 things, and that's add not even major additions. We know we need 5 classrooms at West, and it'd be nice to have a 2-station gym, because I don't know that our gym currently could handle the cafeteria and turn around and have Phi Ed for 6 grades. I know that we can close up the old junior high and the weight room, the old science room. I think you guys have it down on your list. If we add on to the south side of the gym, nothing major, just extend it out so we could put bleachers there and then put a cafeteria there. So again, what is that total package? And can we go out to our community? I'm going to have to answer the question over and over and over again. It's just like, well, the state built school buildings in every town in this state except for us. Why should I vote yes on a bond issue when the state handled the needs of every other school? And Joel and I have been to presentations where, lawmakers and legislators and everybody said, oh, our construction, projects have built brand new buildings in every town. It's like, no, every town maybe but one. And again, can we overcome that? That's our local, job to do that, to go out and sell that. But again, Terry can say, you know what, the state has helped us out. They've built 2 elementaries for us. They handled that need. Now we've got to step up and handle our own need as well. And again, it's kind of an equity issue, Troy. I mean, we're not saying build this just so we can have, shiny or new buildings here. And so now we can feel as good as everybody across the state. But again, Joel and I both feel we've done it, and Lyndon too, I'm sure, we've done a great job with major maintenance. So we haven't had to replace those buildings. We haven't let them become run down, dilapidated, and not usable for proper educational services. But it comes at a cost. It does. It's an additional cost for us. If we were able to say, okay, we're going to take $100,000 worth of major maintenance money and go out and enter into financing where our annual bond cost is bond payment's going to be $100,000. How much can I finance over a 20-year period? That's going to be a $2 million project, and we're just going to take it out of major maintenance money. I know we did it back in the district I came from. I know of other districts that did that too. They were able to set money aside by operating efficiently and then taking that major maintenance money. But you're telling us, no, you've got to put it into the buildings that you have right now and not alter the use of those funds to be able to enter into brand new square footage that would allow you to create a more efficient operation with your buildings. And so, we're chasing our tail here because we're not quite small enough to be able to pack Libby and West into West right now. If we continue to go down, yeah, maybe we can get by with 3-section elementary, and then we can put K5 into there. But we're not. We're a 3-section in 4th and 5th grade, a 4-section in 1st grade through 3rd grade, and 5 sections with the developmental kindergarten at the kindergarten level. So we're not there yet, and we just have to wait for us to get so small that we can combine, or keep coming and asking you guys, is there something that you guys can do to add 5 classrooms to us so we can close up Libby Elementary and save hundreds of thousands of dollars? Because right now, all I can move is 1st and 2nd grade over there. I got to keep the building open for kindergarten, and it's got to stay heated for their needs. So I'm not saving, what we need to save. And to me, it just lacks the common sense of saying, yeah, we can go up for a bond issue and do it locally, but like I say, it's something that we're going to have to address here locally. It's like, well, the state isn't going to help us out. We've got to do it ourselves. They've allowed us to do it, so we can go out for a bond issue. So that's my soapbox on it, and that's kind of where we're at. We're ready to move forward. I mean, we are not doing anything different than Fremont's doing. I mean, you could come out here and help us do the exact same thing that Terry's talking about, we just haven't quite gotten to that point apparently. So hopefully, like with West Elementary, we can use that as an opportunity to say, we need 5 extra classrooms. Let's get her done. And like I say, a 2-station gym. We could close up the old junior high and Libby if that's the goal for the school facilities division. We could literally close down both Libby Elementary and the old junior high if we had 5 classrooms and a 2-station gym on West. And that, is not a huge investment.
I really like these studies. I'm going to back out from the subjective for just a moment. In my own mind, I really like these studies because it basically, we take data, and data not always, but data, when you focus on data. So for instance, when we talk about, capacity, we would apply the same capacity methodology. If you were to move one school into another, we'd apply the approved methodology, and we would use that methodology, and we would not subjectivize it in any way, shape, or form. And then it helps everybody see what's being applied across the state. So that's the great thing about these studies, is you come up with data. Now, data can be interpreted different ways and used different ways, but it's the same standard data or method of coming up with the data and seeing it from an objective point of view. I think that's one of the strengths of a study in this. And then the other thing is getting a much broader stakeholder involvement. And so obviously, Dennis, you're passionate about some opportunities potentially down the road. But stakeholder involvement, when it comes to like expenditure of major maintenance, right? Okay. Department honestly has no power to do other than what state statute says. You know that, we know that, your community needs to know that. Legislators already know that. And so we're able then to look at state statute, we're able to look at methodologies, policies, we're able to look at funding mechanisms for the state, and then we're able to bring in your stakeholders in such a way that it's one thing to approach, and you know this, it's one thing to approach something, but you're not fully educated on all the issues involved in that approach. And so we find it really interesting when the stakeholders get involved and the understanding of what state statute says, where the funding's coming from, and then what does it mean for you financially as a district from an objective point of view? What does it mean for utilities if you were to close these buildings? What does it mean for your staffing? What does it mean for, who knows what, food service? What does it mean? And then what is it from the objective point of view? What does it mean? Let's say we were to put everything in buildings and not build an actual inch of extra square footage. What would that look like? You would actually know objectively what it would look like in that building. And you could see it visually, two-dimensionally on the floor plan. And so that's what this is about. And then it shows, and then you can explore pros and cons and costs to each of those scenarios. So in a way, it's kind of cool because it brings in data and objective understanding realities as people work through the decision-making paradigm of what the options are, what does it cost, what are the opportunities, what are the setbacks, and why or why not can we get money for such an option or with regard to what we see as positive versus negative. So anyway, I think it brings in a lot of opportunities there. But again, difficult discussions and something that if the district's willing and the commission's willing and depending on what happens Fremont 25. And again, you might want to talk as we move down the road eventually here, Dennis, if you guys are serious about this and that commission thinks it's positive. Maybe talking to Terry also would be an opportunity for you to kind of get a superintendent's perspective of, I've been working with the state. Yeah, they have sideboards that the department has sideboards they got to stay in. We can't represent what we're under legally, authoritative wise, and just to try to make those opportunities happen. So you might want to talk to him at some point in the future if this looks like something you guys. But I think the first thing is, let's get to a commission meeting. Let's let Fremont 25 present their stuff. Let's look at the hard decisions. You guys can kind of see, and then maybe you can have some further discussion with Terry to see, and I think the other thing you have to understand, and we're spending a lot of time on this, I apologize, but I think it's important. I think the other thing you have to understand is that we as a state, and I think that Terry will vouch for this, we're not trying to ramrod something down the districts. You know what I'm saying? We're not trying to do that. We're trying to respect the values. We're not trying. We're respecting the values of communities. We're respecting state statute. We're respecting our commission's guidance of us. We're respecting the limitations that we're placed under, and yet at the same time are willing to step out of the comfort zone and explore things that we don't want to shut you down. And so if you want one that says, hey, this is on this option has all the pros, here's all the pros, but in order for this option to happen, we need capital funds. You can have an option like that out there, but it doesn't silence other options, okay, that are down the traditional silos of funding and seeing what, if there's no legislative action that would allow you or legal way we can do what you want to do, you see other options too, and you can say, hey, these are other options, they're available, this is maybe the state could support these as well or maybe not, and this is what it would do for us from a school district point of view, and then you can see the pros and cons. And, the lesser of two evils potentially or something like that. So, I don't know.
I don't think Dennis was on when you mentioned to me about what we'd be interested in having a study like that done. So I think he missed that part.
Yeah, Dennis, I didn't communicate with you. We are actually working through we asked this question right here. I don't know if you're looking at the screen.
Yep.
But we're asking this question, and we're kind of working through all the school districts in the state and saying, is there an opportunity? Are you interested in maybe exploring opportunities to reduce square footage? Yes or no? I'd say what? 90% of them are going in your dreams. We like everything we have. We're struggling maybe, but we're going to keep everything we have. But there are a few districts here that are saying, you know what? We have an interest in that, or and to explore maybe opportunities from more of a public platform to see maybe if there's something we can do.
I think the issue arose really when we were looking at the capacity in Chugwater, which is really probably the biggest example.
Well, and how many other districts are sitting where we're at 169% of what
We've got districts close to 200%.
Do you?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's on the high side. The lowers are probably 114, 118.
What is Riverton?
Yeah, Glendo and Chugwater really skew those numbers. That's that's exactly right. I mean, that really, and if we could kind of divide and analyze what we need in each individual community. We've talked about closing down the Chugwater Elementary and moving them into the high school, but again, it just not quite the amount of space that we need. So we've, as Joel typed in there, we are looking at options. We've got them down. My principals, elementary principals in Wheatland, are creating a schedule right now that doesn't matter if it's two separate buildings or one building. Their schedule will utilize staff as if there's one building. So we are, I think, a lot further down the road than I don't want to say you giving us credit for it, but we have talked about this. This is the major things we talk about, Troy. And so we are down the road, and I'm not sure how much stakeholder involvement is necessary and who those stakeholders are. Our board has set a expectation and a goal for us this year that we analyze different scenarios to reduce our square footage. So we're doing that already. And Anthony, the architect that's working on the West HVAC project, will have, when did he say, Joel, in another week or 2 weeks, we'll have drawings that shows what those classrooms will look like in first grade through fifth grade at West Elementary. And so we are down that road of looking at options. So as Joel says, if we have to move fifth grade over to the middle school, yeah, my middle school principal is already putting plans in place to handle four grade levels there instead of the 3 they have right now, and what that's going to look like. So again, we have been talking about that. Our board has been talking about that. I'm not sure about overall community involvement in it, but they're certainly aware of it. We've got many people who think that Libby should be closed down and combined. But again, that's our current state anyway.
Yeah, so I think for us then, I think what we're trying to do as a department here is we're trying to say, I think we have an interest in joining you in that. If the commission would approve that and see it as a worthwhile endeavor. And so you could actually get the state to basically come alongside you. And then the other thing that we have to do is when you have a commission or a select committee, you really have to present things on a consistent basis in a certain format, right? And you have to assure them that you followed the same process to explore options or opportunities, because state statute requires the commission to seek the most cost-effective remedy. And so that's the state-driven language that allows us then to get involved with commission approval, and then basically go down a path that assures all the boxes are checked, and we followed sequentially a process that assures. I know that Fremont 25 has they didn't think they didn't even think about certain scenarios. But after the data came in, after the analysis, after a lot of involvement and thought and time, actually some additional scenarios that they never thought of were also actually opportunities for them. And so I think it would even make you think harder on what you've already thought about, and maybe you'll explore even other options as a possibility. And maybe you'll find that at all. Who knows? But anyway, so for us to join you, it means number one is making someone else aware of your where you're at. Awareness is number one. Number two is getting commission buy-in. And then number three is following a very proven, it's not like 100%, what would you call it? Ungoofable. I mean, we've done studies in the past where they've gone off the rails and there's nothing we can do about it. I think it gives an opportunity to put a structure to a study that is proven for the most part, proven well done, and allows then the commission and legislators to know that we've gone through a process so thorough and consistent that on a statewide basis, we're always thinking statewide here, right? On a statewide basis, what are we thinking about equity? What are we looking at as funding opportunities? And then what does it look like for this district specifically, and the community needs, the economic needs, the educational needs, all of those things that are personalized within that district? Well, we can probably beat this one to death and more. Anything else, staff?
Only thing I have to add is I would, just my gut talking, I would do a study. I would take it to the commission, and then we'd work with the select committee to see if it's something they're going to open up a funding source for. Because it sounds like all these need some money to sort of tweak it, just something to make it all fit.
Yeah.
But no one's keen to this. We got to go to the select committee, in my opinion, to really get it up to the legislative level.
Well,
And we've got the meetings coming up this summer, so.
yeah, and my plan, talking about the west remodel project, was I was gonna submit that as a component project, not adding on, obviously, can't add on, but just the remodel itself. If we can get that done, and we can show that we start moving 1 or 2 grades over there, you know, I mean, there's gonna be a time, like Dennis said, there's gonna be a time where we're gonna have to keep both buildings open, so it's not gonna save us any money for a time. But we can at least show that we're committed to doing something, and so I was thinking that would be a positive thing we could take to the commission at some point if we did try to go and get some money for some additional classrooms and then another gym.
Yeah. So you'd be focusing on systems on your component requests and seeing how. Okay. Well, that sounds good, guys. Well, interesting, uncomfortable discussion.
No, we appreciate. Yeah, it's not going to happen overnight, Troy. We understand that. We understand the process, and we're just continuing to work on it. So, again, we have no problem in going to the School Facilities Commission and stating our case. You know, when we talked there a few years ago, they wanted a master plan, and it's like, I think we've got a good master plan overall to reduce down to 3 buildings in Wheatland here from 5, and I have no problem in explaining that. So look forward to your helping us as you guys always have. So I don't think it's adversarial at all. It's just we are passionate about trying to move forward on this. So.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for your willingness to do that. And I'm really looking forward to Fremont 25 and that presentation. And then we'll just kind of continue and again, we're trying to make our commission aware of opportunities to save the state in the long run a lot of money. And help the district, you know, in probably from a financial and educational and all of those opportunities for you guys as well. So I think it can be a win-win, but I think that Brandon's correct. You know, as we start working through this, one of the things we need to do is then maybe potentially make our legislators aware of this different way to look at facilities across the state. I mean, it's one thing to say, yeah, demolish the building and you guys go, you know, you guys go deal with your issues internally. It's another thing to, I think, put a formal process together where the formality of it allows then, I think, a lot more awareness statewide of opportunities for the state to save money and to be responsible in the district, responsible with the resources you have in the long run. And what does that look like? So with that, we'll move on. No charter school. You got the Peak High School at 19 students. Condition-wise, you guys know you need to take care of your buildings, preventive, routine maintenance. As those of age, you guys can get major maintenance on a regular basis. It's because the life cycle of those buildings is they're aging over time. And then at some point within the life cycle, infusion of capital monies on a condition basis need to be infused in order to renovate or replace buildings. So, and depending on how much money the state has at any one time, that cutoff for where a building's condition is could be earlier. It has been earlier, but in the future, it doesn't look like it's going to be a choice to do it earlier. It's probably going to be, hey, let's get the most out of the mileage of these buildings in a reasonable amount. So you guys know probably that the Facility Condition Index, FCI score, the higher that score represents the more deferred maintenance related to a building. This is just page one of many pages of our educational buildings across state. When we go out and do condition assessments, we basically then compile these into a single list, rank them according to FCI on top, the highest, and then go from there. This year, almost everything at a 0.4 and above has been dealt with in one way, shape, or form. So I'm looking at this, and sure enough, see how we did this. And we, again, I think that Joel pointed this out, that it may not be all of our problem or all of our fault, but Wheatland Junior High School is not a surplus building, and on the new one it's not, right?
Correct.
Updated. It is not a surplus building. The state has obligation to take care of that building in some way, shape, or form. So that's a 0.48, and so we are going to be talking about that. I think the study would offer an opportunity to explore either repurposing or upgrading or getting rid of that building in some way, shape, or form, whatever that looks like.
Hey Troy, earlier we were talking about preparing for the next final budget, which sounds like it's a long ways off. Because we're in the supplemental by the time you do the study. And my biggest thing out of these is getting ready for the budgets and all that. Guess what would we want to do so this time next year I know plug a number, don't plug a number, what to do.
With that building?
Yeah, because it's either capacity or condition. So a condition list, and I would get to here and I'd say, what do we do? So at the end of this meeting, are we going to identify a need or
Well, I think identifying the need, we already have funding money.
Yeah,
So we already have an appropriation to, if the commission approves it, again, after we kind of talk to the commission and present this Fremont 25, I think that opens the door for us to use already appropriated funds to then start acting upon Wheatland Junior High School.
Not only Wheatland, but anything we got to get ready for.
Yeah.
Got it.
So this is kind of interesting because, in Fremont 25, sorry I keep mentioning them, but I'm just telling you, it's a correlation. The TAC building's right there. It's below yours. It's a 0.44. You guys are up at a, what is it? 0.48. So we broadened, 1927.
We've got two.
We broadened the look for the school. We're trying to help the school district see not just the TAC, focus on the TAC building, but focus on the district as a whole to maybe realize some opportunities. And so that's what we're doing, Brandon. We're using existing appropriations. If the commission approves, we're backing out and we're looking at a much larger perspective of the district as a whole. Yes, we will talk specifically about Wheatland Junior High School as a 0.48, but
the district as a whole.
But the district as a whole, because that may have an impact financially for the district and for this and educationally and everything else in a much greater way than if we just focused on this 0.48 alone. So I suppose that what we ought to do when we approach the commission on this one, I think it's a good opportunity because just like, and we'll make it clear for our administration, that the reason we're seeking a study is initially was encouraged, or what do we call it, instigated, or because of this 0.48, and we're dealing with other 0.4s in the state. So how are we going to do that? So I think that what's going to justify the study is in reality this 0.48, the fact that they have so much extra square footage related to it. We need to back out and look at the district as a whole to see if there are other opportunities related to that.
Yeah, because by this time next year, we want to have a game plan so that I can jam something in or write something in a report that goes off.
And absolutely, anything we would do with or without this building is going to affect the rest of our district.
Mm-hmm.
Because almost everyone else uses that.
Good point.
And that's, again, back to our dilemma. That's our dilemma in our district, is the way we're set up. We have 3 communities, we have 22 buildings. Every building is spread out. Every building in Wheatland is spread out. Dennis has mentioned this several times. Back when they were building new buildings in the 70s and the early 2000s, why didn't they put them closer together? You know, it creates a hardship for our staff because now we have to arrange for time between buildings, and the staff that's going between buildings and going between towns, and it makes a nightmare.
But the mindset for the school district after the high school burned down was, this will never happen again. We're splitting all the buildings up.
Right. It's kind of like your hay.
Yeah, this will never happen again.
Don't put all your hay in one thing.
But then they created a whole
lightning burns it up, and there goes your
I guess.
cow herd, right?
Yeah.
Then they created a whole other problem.
Yeah, interesting. But they did the best they knew
Yeah.
at the time they did it, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
Okay, good. So Brandon, I think that we focus. Thank you for kind of looking at that. What is the justification for this study? Is that Wheatland Junior High School and the interrelated use of that school or that building with all the other schools within at least Wheatland?
So this one, I mean, I like that as well. I mean, to have that, we're dealing with that silo, so the condition silo, that's one of the things we do. So it needs to be looked at.
So May is the next question, then?
Correct. May 2nd and 3rd.
So they could request something, they could request to be on the agenda, I'm just thinking out loud,
Well,
to get funding, because then you got
and
June,
the
July.
two-story part of that building is full of asbestos.
uh,
So
You
Yeah,
want to do it through the fall, and then by next spring, January,
as long as we present Fremont 25 first, and then we have an open discussion on other opportunities. And we'll be done with facility planning. We should have a recommendation of other opportunities across state. This is one of them. So, okay. All right, you guys, for the most part, other than your junior high, Wheatland Junior High School, you guys have pretty good scoring buildings. Obviously, you do have some needs, which is why you have major maintenance. The Wheatland Peak Garage building, that's the one that was demolished. Is that correct? I'm sorry, I'm not even thinking. Garage building. The challenge, I think, is, well, you guys said we do not agree with these scores. How can 1986 elementary school be in worse condition than 1957? Our building ages makes our facilities much older than almost everything. And actually, we have legislators making the same question. But we're finding across the state, actually, to be honest with you, we have some early 1900 buildings that are better scoring than 1990 buildings. And so I think that how those buildings were built from a materials point of view, right?
We have.
It's like your junior high school. I mean, that thing is,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's 103 years old that has a .11.
Yeah.
In terms of score.
so I think that there is a correlation, I just wrote here, there is somewhat of a correlation between building condition and age. However, things that affect condition are the kind of materials buildings made of, the quality of construction, how well they've been taken care of, lifespan, routine, preventive, major maintenance, capital construction. Also, deferred maintenance as a ratio to the current replacement value is based on the type of systems that are deficient and to what degree they are deficient. So in other words, it's one thing if you have a foundation issue on a building and it's scoring low, that has a huge impact on the score of the building. But if you have carpet or something like that, it may score low, but it doesn't have near the financial impact on the score itself. So just a fancy way of saying that there are reasons why older buildings score better than newer buildings. You may struggle with this. However, I think you were there in the 16 condition assessment when all these ran back through all the condition. And they make the great thing about, I think, the strong point about the condition assessments is number one is we train the districts exactly how the assessment goes. What tool is used to assess the buildings, score them. We give the consultants all the major maintenance, the best of our ability since 2007, major maintenance expenditures on that, capital expenditures. You guys get to fill out an interview sheet that says, I'm having problems with, this is the system, this is the type of system, this is our problems with this system. So you get to provide that as in interview sheets. And if you didn't do that, they were previously, if you didn't have to do it again, they were previously provided. And maybe we need to, maybe next time, maybe we need to start fresh and do it for, but school districts usually don't like that. And then the other opportunity, which you probably know, is we always send the assessments. We do not score them. You do not score them. Your job and our job is to provide data, and then the assessors actually list the data. Here's our observations, and you look and go, oh, you missed something. They're going to make a score. They're going to apply a score based on the observations. And so you always have the opportunity to come back on the backs of before the score is made final. They send it to you, give you 2 weeks to look over those scores, and they give you an opportunity to say, hey, you missed something. And so you can correct their data that produces a score. You and I don't correct the score. So anyway, did that help at all?
Oh, yeah, yeah. What you just told me was we didn't do a thorough enough job when they came by. And because my specific
Did I say that?
That's what you're telling me.
Because my specific point was, if you look at Libby Elementary, 1927 building, it has original plumbing in there, and help me explain this better, Lyndon. You know, we can't work on the plumbing system in that entire building without shutting the water completely off for the whole building. And that is because
everything in the original 2 bathrooms is galvanized pipe, and it's all inside plaster walls. And when you shut one thing off, you fix this toilet, you're chasing that piece of rust all through the entire building because it just.
And so that's my question.
Why
Why isn't that reflected in our condition score somewhere?
And the average age of our buildings, all of them, is 1967.
Yeah, we ask and want and desire the best data possible to get these scores as accurate as possible. And that's a teamwork, right? I mean, it's a team dynamic where you guys do your jobs, we do our jobs. Now, the other thing, I can say this, that we've had challenges on other scores across the state at times. We have not changed. I mean, they do. FEA has changed individual system scores. I know that because I look at all the paperwork that comes through.
Yeah.
But I can say this, that when in doubt, if like a system that you can't do a visual on, they're going to score that on age. Do you follow what I'm saying? So, for instance, they can't crawl through all your sewer, under slab, sewer, and they can't see it. So they're going to say, well, they're going to ask you, well, what are issues? And you're going to tell them what issues you're experiencing. They're going to score it on that plus the age. However, if you know or if you suspect that there is something drastically wrong with something and they're scoring on age, but go hire a professional, go get a camera, go get it fit, go provide the condition assessment team with better data for them to do something other than we can't make a visual of it, we'll base it on age or what you're telling us. You can provide, so if you have systems like that you're really concerned about, you can use your major maintenance and do some investigation and then provide that to the consultants when they come around to score it again.
Well, and the worst problem with the study that was done before was when Bruce was about on his way out. And basically it was either I think I did West, and I think I did West and Libby. Or no, I did West and Glendale. I showed the SFE people around there. And the other schools were done by 2 other maintenance people.
Yeah.
Bruce never went out with any of them.
And that's
The facilities guy?
Yeah, facilities guy.
Yeah, and that's
a lot of knowledge is right here.
Yeah.
In your head.
It is.
That's the other reason why we always ask, guys. So important that you provide the best qualified, knowledgeable person to basically, and by the way, don't give him that week off. Okay, he doesn't get that week off.
Send your 18.
Okay, I mean, you send your 18, and that's right, and give us.
Well, I directed Bruce. I said, I want somebody has got to be with those guys at all times. Should have done more than that, obviously. But
what does Brandon call it? The short timer syndrome.
Well, and the way they scored West roof, I mean, I disagree with that totally. Yeah, there was blisters on that roof, and the blisters need to be fixed, but it was not a tear the whole roof off and start over again.
Which is now a component project. That's it.
Right.
Because they're doing that this summer, and it's going to have a 30-year warranty again.
Next assessment, spring, probably start in April of 2020. So it's going to be rolling around here pretty quick, unless someone tells me different from a financial point of view.
Well,
Okay.
We'll be more on the ball next time.
Major maintenance. So we are going to try a pause here. It'll be interesting. Okay, let's continue on. So you guys obviously submit a 680 form each year, and it's just a reconciliation of your major maintenance account with expenditures. And so this is probably what you're talking about. Probably is that part of the junior high expenditures right there. But this was last year's. It's just last year's. We could go back to 2007, and we may do that at some point. But anyway, it just shows you what last year's priorities were.
2007. Why are we going clear back there?
We thought it would really be interesting for districts to.
That's actually when we first started reporting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. In a yeah.
Oh, I see.
So yeah. But anyway, here's a numerical breakdown of last year's priorities, and then a system by system, building by building breakdown. You guys have 2s and 1s, and the condition scores. Every building has systems. Every system is scored from 1 to 5. 5 representing excellent condition, 4 good, 3 fair, 2 poor, and 1 failure. So obviously you guys do have quite a few 2s here, and in the hundreds of thousands. And so there, obviously you guys have a concern about not only the deferred maintenance, but your balances related to that. And I know we can talk about those some more here in just a moment. If all things were equal, you guys would, and this is just a March 5th, time, what would you call it? Snapshot in time. Thank you. Your net major balance at that point when you reported this was 836. It may be dramatically different now. And if all things were equal and you were get paid major maintenance at about almost 900,000, you guys have about 1.6 million. I know that you're going to be talking about that in just a second. And we'll probably wait for Michael to step back in to talk about this as well. So you guys always clear up your work orders. So if you've reported something in full of expenditures, we have you close them out, and then these are just WIPs, work in progress, and then anything open. And so you guys have quite a few there that you have cleaned up. If I may, Dennis, Brandon, and Michael stepped out. They'll be back in a moment. So if we can just postpone your conversation on major maintenance just a few minutes. Let's go on and we'll backtrack. You guys well know that component funding is an important source of supplementing your major maintenance. You're probably realizing that more and more all the time. But the blessing for you guys is that you actually have, this is now, as of yesterday, signed into law.
Oh, is it?
So you guys did get the West ES Elementary School roof and heater repair at $663,825. And then your Libby Elementary School fitting, sanitary waste, bathroom fixtures at $116,408. So these are there. Will obviously it takes us a little time to get in our system and then get out to you director authorization letters.
Okay.
So, but these are ready to roll, and
Sweet.
Congratulations on those.
Thank you.
You had this one here. These from
Yeah.
17 through whatever weren't recommended, so that's not there.
Right.
So you have that opportunity. So you're talking about the fact that you want to submit more, and it's because your major maintenance is in your perspective, not sufficient. And I would say from your deferred maintenance, I think that's a pretty objective observation. So let's talk about these for just a second and make sure I understood your request. We are going to backtrack, Brandon, to major maintenance discussion here in just a moment when Michael gets back. But in the meantime, the auditorium qualifies. Okay, so you're saying the Wheatland High School auditorium HVAC phase. Okay, so you want to do that, and it's for specific systems, right? The HVAC system, so that qualifies. Let's go to locker room. Now, you did say locker room remodel and from 2 lockers to 4 locker rooms. So the locker room does not qualify for consideration if entered as a renovation. If you are addressing specific existing systems and you can break them out within your component request, then you can address that. But components is not for renovations. And it used to be, but we've clarified that tremendously. So I put right here, when it says what exclusions, and that's not very large here. So what doesn't qualify? Adding new square footage, installing new components that do not exist. So if you have let's say you have a wall that doesn't exist, you can't put a brand new one in. It's just the same as major maintenance, right?
Okay.
Or multi-system renovations that do not have direct correlation to the main system. So, but if you're going in and you're, whatever. Now, not even 10% because it has to qualify for the major maintenance definition. So I'm not trying to squish it, but I'm just saying that the way you described it, it doesn't look like it will qualify.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I wasn't aware of that.
Okay. And then West Elementary, again, the remodel. Now, listen, we have people going in, and again, if you choose a system to fix. And I wasn't quite sure what you were thinking about, but again, if it's a remodel renovation, it's not going to happen. But you can address individual system and correlating systems to that individual system, right? Secondary systems. So, for instance, we always use an example. If you're doing HVAC and you have to tear out all the ceiling tiles and the lights are in the way, and then you can do rooftop HVAC or whatever the HVAC is and address the lights and ceiling tiles because they're directly correlated or somewhat correlated to that system being fixed. But you can't take a roof and windows because there is no correlation between the two, right?
Now, what if you take a operable wall and put a permanent wall?
It's an existing wall. So, it's an existing wall, and you are replacing that wall with, and so I guess the answer to that is this, and I've learned the hard way. If you have questions like that, go through your project manager. If he is uncomfortable with that, he will go to his supervisor, and then away you will go. So you will get an answer from those.
As long as you have an existing component, I mean, there's a good chance, where it gets tough is if there really is no wall.
Yeah. If you're taking a wall and then splitting
Right.
it, yeah.
Well, I don't see how that would be able to fit that in either because we're doing the major system this summer at West, which is the HVAC.
And see, that's the problem with West. West was one of those schools that was made to be operable walls and moving all over the place. So you never, you did have existing walls, but it was basically was the head of each classroom. It was casework with a wall behind it. The sink was there, the drinking fountain, so that designated the classroom. But you never had a permanent wall. You just had an operable. So, and there are some that are that are in there that are operable, but you're actually those will be replaced with permanent, but you're going to actually be adding some too. So how are you going to split that out?
Yeah. Well, work with.
Well, I mean, in theory, we should be able to upgrade a movable wall to a fixed wall, and we should also be able to completely demo a particular wall. The tough part is adding a wall where there was.
And that's going to be.
If it's
we can use
movable,
component.
could you say could always be moved?
Yeah. We
See,
can use
that's
component money for it.
But place it here, and then
Yeah, it's
we'll
already-
move it and put a wall, and then we'll place it there.
Yeah, it's already movable, so
See, that's the problem with that school.
that's interesting.
You basically had 4 fixed casework, and then you had a center post, and that's what all the walls went off. And
So everything's movable.
yeah,
It's all
so
that road.
everything's movable.
Interesting.
Once you replace that wall, you should kind of put up a
Yeah,
temporary.
so some of them do have operable walls, but some of them don't.
Let's put up a whole bunch of temporary walls.
Anyway, certainly please, and we're not the experts here, we're just planners.
Yeah.
The real experts are your PMs, and those decisions are on a case-by-case basis. But, so are we clear on what qualifies and what doesn't qualify for component? And a lot of times, and what we're trying to do, what we found is that we found that districts in the past were putting in multi-million dollar renovations.
Yeah.
And this is not a major capital request. This This is to supplement major maintenance, which is system oriented, individual system oriented usually. So you might have to be a little more creative now, and maybe break things out, your highest, just like the HVAC, right, from West and stuff. Break out your highest needs, put those in, see where they go, and this is, and this is an endurance contest, right? I mean, that's what component funding is. I mean, you have to look out there, and you have to say, okay, what do I put in here? It'll go through the process. We're only now accepting component requests every 2 years. And so you just have to go through that process, and it can be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 years out, depending on what the needs are, and how much money is available, appropriated, and what the committee does with the prioritization.
Well, we have plenty of HVAC needs in the district, so it won't be difficult for me to come up with some other projects. These are disappointing because I've already started planning on that. I've already had engineers planning and designing on that. And kind of shoots us in the foot with the West Elementary full renovation and moving Libby over idea.
Okay.
So
back to, you handed out to us.
We started that, right?
You did hand out to us this. I think we had a 2-hour block scheduled here, so it's not a big deal. We're doing good. But I wanted you to know that the recording itself may not go beyond the 2 hours.
Okay.
So we might have some of this not recorded, which is okay. It's just technology. But anyway, I did ask you to. You guys were looking at asking for an emergency project potentially for the stage rigging and stuff. I think we worked through that. I know that was, again, probably didn't hear from me what all the things you want to hear from me, but I did ask you to really look at your major maintenance and see how you can reprioritize that, and are there opportunities for you to get that reading done, and then how to reprioritize in such a way that you can take care of the emergency in your minds, right, or the concern. I shouldn't say emergency. I mean, it's a concern of yours, potential safety issue and stuff like that. And then you've done this. So you want to talk about that a little bit more?
about this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, and we don't have to talk each one, but.
Well,
you don't have
I guess
to.
all I'd say is from the time that we talked to this point, this list has drastically changed.
Okay.
And so, and obviously there's a couple projects in here that aren't going to get paid out until next fiscal, so we can use next year's major maintenance money to help pay for that. But I mean, as it stands right now, this is our current balance. We're now in the negative.
Okay.
Which is, basically the guys that were in your position a couple of years ago really didn't keep up with maintenance. And so now you guys are here and you guys are actually picking everything up.
Yeah, I found 6 major air handlers that were pumping in 100% outside air. Even if it's minus 10 degrees, it was pumping in 100% outside air. That same facilities manager sat in our high school gym year after year wearing a jacket and did not understand why the outside wall was cold.
And then you guys had completely unanticipated stuff like the bat infestation and the radon. So, you know what I mean? But normally it wouldn't even be happening.
I go into a gym that they say, everybody's freezing to death. And I bring the HVAC guy, local guy in, and we go through every control point on that system in that gym, and we find out that a motor on all the outside ducts that was put in 5 to 6 years ago was going backwards all these years. So it was fighting the other one. And as soon as they turned the wires 68.9 degrees all the time. And that's why he had the entire high school system going 24/7 all the time. That was the only way he could keep the gym going.
Well, that's
one of the challenges. I made a little bit earlier about it. We're doing the best we can. Lyndon practically works night and day. you know, and we don't feel like we're gaining ground. We feel like we're still losing ground on things.
But eventually that time is coming.
Yeah, it's got to.
Well, we hope so.
10 years worth of stuff.
We hope so, but now too, we're to the point now where we really have to look at every dime we're spending of our major maintenance money because we don't have it anymore. And I've already emphasized that to principals and said, you know, anything you guys want done, you know, we're really going to have to look at. It has to go on our 5-year facility plan, and then we sit down and decide when it's going to happen. You know.
And you guys well know, and when you look at those hundreds of thousands of dollar deferred maintenance systems, again, you guys have identified, identifying those, bringing them up to component requests is an important part of this. You know, it's strategic. I mean, you're competing with other districts, and what you bring forward, you want to bring stuff forward that, I mean, we do. We see roofs on a regular basis. We see HVAC systems. Those are probably the 2 top ones.
The big ones, right? They are.
And then after that, it's kind of a hit and miss. But those are usually the ones that surface to the top. And then how you fill that paperwork out, as painstaking as it is, how you fill that out and communicate to the community, then you well know is an important part of that process. So, okay.
Yep, I'm aware of that.
And then you know that we have emergency funds too. So I mean, if something goes up, if you're doing the best you can, you're doing what you believe is right with your maintenance. And if you get in a tough place, we have emergency funds for and you know the criteria. I mean, school can't take place. There's criteria you have to show, and so and we don't want to get there. We want to be proactive, and I think it's an important part of the process as well. So know that there is a safety net there if you end up. I mean, honestly, if the system fails and you can't have school or something like that, we do have a safety net, and we can act immediately upon that. I think, if I recall right, there's up to $100,000 can be approved by the director like that. And we can also, the commission could also call for a special meeting with 48 hours, 24 hours. So if something happens. Okay.
Well, I put phase 1 into our major maintenance after the report that you have a copy of, and it said phase 1 is going to cost $278,000, so you'll see it on here. The thing, and I'm working with Michael on that right now, is the design fees on that right now. The lowest, he gave us 3 different scenarios, so 3 different quotes. The lowest one is $31,000.
$31,000. What's the cost?
$278.
$278 is a construction.
That's
cost?
11.4%.
Okay. That's the lowest though.
That's the lowest one. The highest one is 40.
Yeah.
And so my question, I don't think we've even talked through this yet, is this such a specific, project situation that it costs that much? Because in his quote, and I have them right here if you want to look at them, he has in there for an acoustical engineer at $12,000. Well, is it that specific of a project that takes that kind of expertise? I don't know, but again, now are we up to 300,000?
Right. See, his design at this point in time is to remove all the ceiling in there, the catwalk, and so me servicing the air handlers, I'm going to basically have to go spend $8,000 to $9,000 to put a permanent man lift on the stage that I can get to the air handlers because there's not going to be a catwalk. And then I told him, well, okay, these are the original air handlers. They're noisier than anything. And even the drywall doesn't keep the noise out when you're going. Well, other places we've had them turn the air handlers off when they have a program. So that's going to be my deal the next time.
Wear their coats.
What's that?
The option of exploring different designs.
Putting it out on the street.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Did you just call him up, say, hey, Brandon, can you give me a price?
yeah. Well, I mean, we've worked with him before, and this has been a long, ongoing just started out with a
grant.
and, this one thing kind of led to the other, but,
I mean, we're obviously not obligated to take that particular proposal.
no, hold on, no.
And,
But I've already
maybe looking
paid
at
him.
somebody else.
I've already paid him, you look, you can see it here, already paid him $14,000 just for the phase 1, phase 2 design. So we're already in with him, and he's the one that developed those 2 phases, and it's gotten us to where we're at right now. So yeah, do we back out now and start all over again? I always want to get this done this summer because, like I told you guys, it is a safety issue. And when I see my daughter up there on the stage, who's in kindergarten with 75 of her classmates, it scares the crap out of me. And it's going to happen next week. Matter of fact, it's going to happen the day you guys are going to be in Glendale. They have another award ceremony over there. That's my concern. And I mean, Dennis can even vouch for me. Every time I walk into that place now, that's the first thing that comes up in my mind is, I hope that stage doesn't collapse. So I mean,
There's also some ability to negotiate that down.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I have not talked to him about that at all. Because I wanted to talk to you first. Kind of get your thoughts on things. Yeah. Because I wasn't sure. I mean, just my gut feeling when I saw that was, geez, this is a lot of money. But I don't have enough expertise to know if that's out of line or not.
Well, one thing that I noticed when I just glanced at it is architectural consultant. It just says 11 lump sum. Yeah, it doesn't even give me hours. How many hours? What's your effort? Because to negotiate, it'd be nice to know. You say, hey, Brandon, how many hours? Well, I got 100 hours.
Yeah.
Well, then you start doing the math. You're like, no, what's that? That's not, but here it just says lump sum. So.
And the single biggest consultant is the acoustic guy.
Structural. You got acoustical.
12.
At 11.9.
12.
Yeah, 12. Yeah, structural engineering 12.8. Mechanical, electrical 3,000. Reimbursables, he's at $288. 5 trips. Meals $60. $12 a meal.
He can squeeze his structural, but he is acoustic consultant. So that'd be the first option.
Yeah.
And then,
all these say without catwalk though. It's very clear. So what's the total cost of it?
yeah,
You spend. You save money here, but then you turn around and go spend, like you said, 10 grand.
Because if I go just above what the ceiling height now, I'm going to be 8 feet above where the ceiling height is right now in a man lift. And just like you say, okay, I'm 2 inches too far over this way. I got to go that way, and I got to roll this thing.
We've had, good performance on state line 7 into the two. Some Paul Severson's worked at state line 7 up in Casper on several different things. So, I mean, first option is try to talk him down to be more competitive. Another option would be solicit another opportunity.
Maybe that's been our problem, is we tried to spread it around a bit. So we didn't get tied into one group. It's wrong attitude to have.
Well, I mean, we've worked with Totally before, and they've done a good job with us. They did the concession stand.
They do a good job. They are aggressive.
They followed through. They did a great job. So that's what I'm most interested in. Are you going to do a good job? And I thought they represented us very, very well in that project.
Yep.
The security project, they're doing it too. Not so much. There's some issues there.
This might be more their niche though versus security. They might have expertise in this. So.
Okay, well, we'll certainly let you guys continue to hammer that one out. And it's great that we have architects. So, We do,
My other
do feel fortunate.
thought or question for you is, so on this component project, the West Elementary roof and heater repair, well, that's replacing a boiler, replacing the boiler at West Elementary. The roof, and the reason why I put this in there, and this is the biggest part of this $663,000 project, I think the roof is around $400,000 of that. I put that in there because it was a condition score of 2. And that's why I put this in here. Well then, after Waddle and Daub came out this summer, after we had hail damage, and they came out and they looked at all our roofs, now what's his name from Waddle and Daub, he said, there's nothing wrong with that roof, Joel. Tom Tisthammer. He's like, there's nothing wrong with that roof. He said, when we recode it, just like what Lyndon said, when we recode it, it'll be good to go.
And they're already doing
And so the money's in here, it's been allocated, but we don't need to replace the roof.
So did they alter the warranty, so now there's a?
Yeah, it's-
warranty?
Yeah, as soon as they recode it, it's back up to
Oh, it's one of those
year
Back to
seals
the
they
full
put over
20?
it?
Yeah, it's
So you can pay for
full
the
warranty.
recoding, right? Right? If it's part of the scope, they can pay.
Yeah, I mean, that's
down-
the remedy to that roof.
Right.
So is it done yet?
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
but
just
how much
saying,
money
there's
is that?
that
There's not a lot of
money
money,
there.
right?
So I don't know exactly what you're asking, but here's.
I just wanted you to know that.
Oh, okay.
We may,
It-
may not spend
Can
all
revert
that
it.
money.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and I know, we've been down that road before. I know we can't do that.
I
wish
Nothing else?
we could.
You didn't need us to tell you the obvious.
No.
No, I mean, use the money, if there is a certain amount of remedy that is less in scope than what you originally create, because we can bring that money
So
back.
those component projects now, I personally.
No, but that's, thank you for suggesting that.
Yeah.
Because we'll do that. We'll at least pay for the cost of whatever their recode is out there.
yeah, basically what they've been doing is they go around and any place they find hail damage, they go in and they basically grind it down till they get to a good surface again. They refoam it, they'll coat it, and then they go around and they'll power wash the entire structure.
And then give it another.
And then
20
they
year
give
warranty.
it a whole new coat of the top coat, come back, put the granules on, and it's got another 20-year. And actually, it's a 30-year.
And when's that, you gotta be done?
They did the ag shop at the high school yesterday. They did the East Wing or the Peak High School. They did that over the weekend, and they're going to wait on West because they're going to be the ones doing all the penetration through the membrane, because we found out that the initial tar membrane is asbestos. So they have to do the penetration.
Can you scroll up to the section, Troy, that has the components here?
We're talking about this one right here.
So that is the one right there, the roof.
And how much did the
Well, he's saying roughly 400.
Or, yeah, I want to say, that's what I'm hoping there's enough
It's all
there
in
for that boiler. And I've asked that question before. I think I've asked you, because I think there's 275.
Well, here's the pros. It's in one, as it comes through in our accounting system, it's going to be one project. And then within that, you'll have the flexibility to move
within that?
for each of the components, because you have roof and heater. So you watered it in.
I think I broke it out on the.
Yeah, but the way
Doesn't
he's
matter.
I mean, the way.
But on
we're
the
gonna
accounting
say it.
side, we're not going to go down and be like bolts on mechanical. You know what I mean?
Here's the scope, here's the dollar amount, take care of the scope.
Yeah.
And yeah, your
Okay.
estimates,
Good.
your estimates, but they're, like you said, there's freedom to move that money around and address the need of this project.
And what that estimate's for is so you guys all leave and new guys come in, then you could pick up that and be like, oh, okay. And you got a
Good.
plan.
Good, because I wasn't sure if 275 was going to be better or not.
Might be a little more, might be a little less, hopefully less. But
That's
like,
good.
this is obviously a Michael Shelby issue, but my gut says this is just me talking, take it off the record, I would hold off on those guys coming and I would call the SFC procedure, because they have to sign that SF approved permission contract. So anytime money comes through the bill, that's what triggers all the commission rules and policies, which means you have to sign a commission-approved contract, which you guys might have done this before. Michael gets to do it now. But the nice thing about this is that you could use those funds. You aren't going to use your major maintenance, were you?
No, it was all covered by the insurance company.
Better.
Yeah, no, we have
No.
insurance money
Insurance.
set aside.
Here you get the cash.
So here's the deal. It sounds like your insurance take care of the roof.
There you go. And now you got plenty of money for
But you have
the
a
Yeah,
deductible on
nice
that?
fat boiler.
Yeah, but that's,
Yeah.
we've already.
What's the boiler?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so it sounds to me like you're gonna have one heck of a great heater repair.
Yeah.
You got plenty of money in there. Okay.
That just
But
happened
I
to get
can,
lucky
but
with the hail.
I can still do like what you said though. I mean, they haven't done it yet, right?
No,
They're gonna wait.
not. They'll be the last one.
Yeah, they're gonna wait until, because they have to do penetrations through the roof for the HVAC project.
I would let them do it and then give them, I mean, hey, if they're gonna do a 30-year warranty,
Yeah.
they're on the hook.
Yeah.
Hey, if you get the
And then
warranty with
use that money to get A-plus boiler.
Yeah.
Yeah, start on the design. Have you designed?
Well, and that was
Well, we will, as soon as we get official notice from you guys, we'll call
yeah.
that was
Because
one
that
of
money's
the,
available.
EDA.
the boiler problems this summer when Long come through and started inspecting all of the boilers. I had to bring Jerry Northrup out of Casper because he's supposedly the only licensed boiler maker here in the state. And the firebox, the caulking or the fireproof roping around it had been gone for, I don't know, I've been here, was there 8 years and it's never been there.
Yeah.
But this thing was pumping 4,500, that was 4,500, 45, how do they rate that carbon monoxide? Carbon monoxide, parts per million. Yeah, there was 4,500 parts per million into that building. Yeah. And the guy says, you gotta get this fixed. And they, you know, for years, again, custodians, man, every time I go in the boiler room, I get a headache.
That component.
Okay, then I have one other question.
Okay.
Or do you want to finish?
No, I think we're good there.
Michael
What else?
mentioned what
Oh, sorry.
That component money, is it available?
it's available immediately, which is,
Two to
late
3 weeks.
April.
We need time to put it in the system, get it out, and then
Yeah.
send out gals, or is that correct,
Yeah.
or MOUs?
It's a down from the
Yeah,
director
yeah.
stating, hey, you've gotten the money, you can see it right here. But
So work with Michael on that. And, yeah, like
Yeah.
he said.
Well,
make sure you-
we're in good shape on that because I don't think we ended up adding it as a alternate, did we? We didn't, but they're aware of it, and so they'll get right on it, I'm sure.
Are we gonna be able to work with EDA and then just roll that into the.
Yeah, I think so.
That'd be the best.
Yeah.
they did the design.
So, Troy,
They're doing the
just
west.
your opinion. I mean, you tell me what you think, what you would do if you were in my situation. So, the reason why I was going to submit for the locker room remodel, so we have 2 locker rooms at the high school, boys and girls. They're in bad shape. They need remodeled. They're not in good condition. Anytime, or a lot of times, when we have more than one sporting event going on, then we have to move teams to classrooms,
Classrooms, yeah.
sometimes to different
Joel,
buildings.
before we move on, let's just revisit here on the boiler. As we get more granular on it, you know, the scope of work is likely gonna result in a fee that's higher than $25,000. Unless EDA can give us a fee of $24,000. If it's 25 or higher, we have to take it out to court.
Okay. Yeah.
Of
All right.
short
Yeah.
or $9.99.
Yeah.
Short procurement, you know.
So, but we'll start the conversation with EDA.
Yeah.
Few hoops.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the good thing is you got.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah, and it's enough.
so you talked about the locker rooms.
Maybe we should put a boiler on each end of the building. In anticipation of our new
Put
classrooms
more
and gym that we're gonna add.
Well,
Super hot there all the time.
maybe there are other design opportunities, like you said, maybe there are other design opportunities that maybe they could even get a more efficient system than what they originally planned. You know, so
Yeah, with that kind of budget, we'll try to get.
run with it, man.
Yeah.
Do a good job. Okay,
Okay, so anyways,
locker room.
so, you know, it's not, I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with the structure of the facility or anything. It has to do with our program. So anytime we have any multiple events going on there where kids need locker rooms, we have to move kids to classrooms. And so we're getting ready to host, I don't know if it's our conference or if it's 2A or 1A. We're getting ready to host regional basketball, I think, next year. And what we have to do is we have to put teams in classrooms. And so we did that. What did we have going on this fall? That's something going on where there was a bunch of people there. I remember what it was, kids, volleyball, or something with volleyball. So we had kids in the hallways, you know, practicing volleyball and hitting the ceiling tile and breaking it, and they hit a light and they broke the light, you know. So it's that kind of issue. You know, what would you do? I mean, is there any way to approach that problem? And what would fix it or what would help a lot is to be able to, and that's what we had told Anthony from State Line, is take that existing space and create 4 locker rooms for us.
So with major maintenance, you can work on systems, right? But you can't put a wall in that is non-existent.
Yeah.
So that's one challenge. You know,
Okay. So you can't use major maintenance money to do it.
But for the systems that are existing, and you need to remodel those or renovate them or replace them, I should say, or upgrade.
So what are you talking about? I mean, so obviously floors. Right now we have, like in the boys' locker room, the showers are the exact same showers that were there when I was in school, which was over 35 years ago. And they're on a pedestal and there's 4 heads. Yeah, that's it. So nobody uses them, obviously, because no kid is going to do that. Well, I should say no one, but not very many.
But if you
So, you know, we wanted to revamp the whole plumbing system. I mean, you know, is that a way of doing it?
To me, you're replacing the showers, right?
Yeah, I mean, revamping the plumbing system is repairing and replacing. But, you know, the complication is, like you were saying, I mean, adding a new wall where there was no wall.
Okay, what if everything runs off the existing walls, that you remove walls?
You can demo.
But would you be able to go back and you wouldn't be able to add in new plumbing where there was no plumbing?
Well,
Theory, but let's say, I mean, not to overcomplicate it, but if you're taking out whatever linear footage of plumbing,
Or
replacing it with the same linear footage, that's a little bit more reasonable than, I'm taking out, you know, 15 linear feet, I'm planning on putting in 400 linear feet.
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean?
yeah. Well, what our thought or what our plan was is, so the girls' locker room and the boys' locker room, you know, so their showers are like this. We were going to centralize all the plumbing right in the middle, you know, and then the plumbing would go to each room.
I mean, you know, the tough part is
can you
that
do that?
major maintenance really isn't intended as a sort of like a
Remodel
source of
systems. It's just
replace and repair.
and it's definitely not square footage. At least that's a good thing. You guys aren't looking at adding it.
no.
So I'm just looking.
That's going to be a longer conversation. We'll have to.
We have
circle wagon and give you more detail. I guess the question from today would be, does it lend itself to a drawing request, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the question.
So what do you think?
And we've got time. We've got time to work
Appreciate
that out. You know, but
There's a component.
I mean, it's all
boiler.
It's got like
Yeah.
30 different, not 30, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's got a bunch of different systems. It's a renovation.
Yeah, it's around.
Yeah.
Which is the same problem in many. Maybe there's a different plan of attack, though. I mean, maybe you can use.
Well, that's what I'm
Split
trying
it
to,
up.
that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Split
Is
it up
there
into
a different way of doing that, even if we have to, supplement it somehow with other money?
Or phase it over time, or do this part of it now, or you know what I mean?
Could they, those systems that are being addressed, they address those with major maintenance.
Right.
Those that are a remodel.
Yeah, then that's district.
And they use district funding and just segregate it nicely, and the architect would know. And you can even use the uniform codes in.
Inspectors.
Yeah, exactly. So it's bid out, it's already structured properly. It could be done. Question is how much money you got
Well, we don't. We don't have.
on the general fund. They allow you to do stuff like that? So you have a bunch of money.
So,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you wanted to do a remodel,
Yeah,
an enhancement remodel.
Yeah, put like the logo in the middle of the shower and that'll match the gym. You can do all
It's an enhancement acknowledgement.
that. Okay.
If we have the money?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you need to see our facilities.
Yeah, I do.
You know.
Actually, go overhead.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, not to dwell on this, that we get a lot of, like our board director, he works for Quest, and he works on a lot of the major fiber connection lines, and so he travels all over the state. He came in my office the other day, and he was kind of ranting. He said, "Have you been to Rollins?" I said, "No." He said, "You haven't seen her in high school?" I said, "No." I said, "No, I avoid those places on purpose." He's like, "Yeah, it's beautiful." Had somebody else tell me shortly after that, "Have you been to Laramie? Have you seen their high school?" Now I realize.
Good, Toronto.
hey, Shoshone, man.
Shoshone.
Woo, baby.
Okay.
And I see those pictures on the little newsletter that comes out. I look at those pictures. See how, I mean, they're beautiful. All the buildings are beautiful.
It's like Christmas time, right?
Yeah. So I just try not to look. But anyways, we get that a lot too. People going up and down the interstate for games and stuff. They're like, "Have you seen this high school and this high school?"
Okay, well, we ready? Move on.
Yep.
Okay, legislative session. This one here was the major maintenance study we did last year, trying to increase the funds. It would have doubled your major maintenance. So we're talking about cash flow.
Right.
This would have knocked it out of the park for you guys.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it fizzled. And the only thing that survived was a 7-year phase and got eliminated. So that's
Has no value for you at this point.
yeah, which doesn't help you there. But let's see, House Bill.
So what does that mean? The 7-year phase in. So they don't. So if you have a new building, you start getting money for it right away.
Yep, day one.
Right, day one. It used to be 100% would be 7 years down the road. Then you phase in the percentages along the way.
One of the things in that study is, hey, these roofs are expensive, these boilers, I need to start saving now, not wait 7 years and then start saving for massive expense. So they bought that. The other things that were going to be adjusted was CRV, current replacement value, was going to go up. The RS means was going to go up. All of it would have essentially doubled the payment. But it didn't get a lot of support at all. So,
Currently, the districts didn't want it.
Yeah.
What's the significance?
No,
Green means pass. Go. Yeah, I mean, there was no districts that spoke on it at the joint appropriations when the bill went out. Not one person was from the district.
Really?
And it died, yeah. Then they killed it.
Well, realistically, everybody was so concerned about the
the
overall budget.
education. Yeah, that's
The
right.
block grant side, right?
Are we going to have teachers tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Guess
House and
what?
roll.
Although I lost track of that. Yeah, I kept looking for it. I couldn't find it anywhere. I don't know. I lost track of that bill.
The next one just sort of was some cleanup on emergencies. As Troy mentioned, we do have some money for emergencies, but can it be used for the site or just the building? And we'll say, hey, such a pipeline break, wash away everything in front of the school. So they cleaned it up and said, yeah, you can use it on site as well. And then also delivery methods. Our commission now has the authority to say yes or no on delivery methods. It was a little gray. Does the district say? Does the department say? It's the commission because they're ultimately in charge of the appropriations. The third division on House and Old Act 5, we were the state construction department, still are, but under there we had the school facilities and the construction management. Now we have a third division for operations, like all of us in here, we're the workers. So you all go in there and the director can send us to wherever. We can work on both sides of the house. If he needs us on a state side job, could be state hospital today, and tomorrow he needs Michael's expertise on a massive school, complicated thing. He can chip into where he needs. And then we got the appropriations, which is a blessing there with all that component money that we've been getting for the last couple of years.
So how much emergency funding did you get?
I think we're around 5 million balance total.
So you got, because we're asking for 4?
Yeah, and we had we had a little over $1 million change. So and what happened was we used to have money. You know, we went to your guys' projects and we said revert. What used to happen is we would put it into what's called unobligated, and it would just sit there for emergencies. And then the legislature says, no, you give us the money. We will tell you what projects to go do. You guys don't do that.
Right.
Which makes sense. They appropriate, we execute. So they wrote some laws, so we have to just keep reverting it. And then we said, well, now we got a cash flow problem for emergencies. Something comes up, we don't have any money. So we brought that to the select committee's attention 2 years ago, and they gave us $1 million, a little more. And then we said, well, we need to get a little bigger balance. We need about 5 would be right, because $1 million on one emergency could suck the whole thing up.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They said, okay, we'll get your balance up there. So now we're going to be hovering around 5 million, and if we can maintain at least that, I think we'll have some cushion there.
Good.
Yeah. And then the last part was on the supplemental budget, which we're preparing for now. If you had any emergencies or unanticipated needs, we would go ahead and put those in. That's what it says we can come for during this session, which will go off to this commission in June for approval. July, they'll finally approve it, and then off to the governor and select committee in August, September. So at this time, I don't see anything, but this is my view, next year we would hopefully have a nice study here. We would go down the condition list, we would pull up the study, page 5, and the recommendation is, and we would enter something for the next budget. That's my view of how it would work. What do you guys see?
Yeah, no, I think that sounds good.
In between now and then, in order to get whatever our plan would be, we would go. We have some planning money. We have like $240,000, and we asked for another $300,000. So we have enough money to do the study, and maybe 30, 40.
So at that point, we'll need to hopefully figure out, like the condition of the old Wheeling Junior High, right?
Yeah,
We have
the high school. They have that. That's on the high school. Junior high?
Junior high school.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have that. So what I do is I go down to capacity. I need a plan for each of them. That way, and then I go down to condition. I need a plan for each of them.
And it's probably the same word, condition and capacity. It's not a one or the other, right?
No, it's in the budget. Capacity is usually prioritized higher than conditions. You need a place to put your butts and seats first, and then they go to conditions. So right now in capacity, we have 2 schools that are in the capacity list. So, and we're actually going to put those in this year.
And they're not going to be that much. In reality, it'll probably be, 40 million.
That's a lot of money.
For what?
For 2 schools.
Not that much.
No, I agree with
It's
you.
only 40 million.
Yeah.
It's only 4 million. That's not bad. 2 for 1 is what you're getting.
That's
It's a lot of money. So this time next year, that would be my goal, is we try to get there with a neat plan of what to move forward with.
Yeah.
And then put it in the budget, and then work it through the process. Commission, select committee. governor, into appropriations committee, the legislature. So, quite a few moves.
All right, so emergency, unforeseen things, do you have a,
So how do you guys view asbestos?
how do we review it?
Yeah.
Bad stuff.
They stay away from it.
Okay. You know, because again,
Well, here's, I mean, the presence of asbestos is not, is it friable? Is it, right? That's the presence. The presence of asbestos, as long as it's not friable,
Usually like,
every school district.
yeah, take like
Right.
a CMU wall,
Right.
a CMU wall that was built in the 50s that has ACM plaster on it. Very high content ACM plaster, that's fine. I mean, it's not really a health hazard unless you do anything to the room.
Right.
So, and I don't know where you guys are at with your hazardous material management plan, but that should be in there. Right? So,
Yeah, and our biggest problem is trying to get the teachers to stop poking holes.
yeah, that's where.
They screw with it.
you know, and we've had a claim, we've had a workers' comp claim for mesothelioma.
That's the one that in the building that had a radon too.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, different?
well, he was in that building, but his claim was based on because he was in the old junior high for a while. But he has it, and yeah, I saw the claim. It was $750,000, I think, what he got.
All this cigarette smoking.
No, he didn't smoke cigarettes. But anyways, I was just wondering because it seems like the more we try to do, we always get stopped. Well, there's asbestos in that, so.
Yeah, and for Bruce,
Trying to replace carpet.
you know, for all those
places.
years, no,
Can't do it
everything's been
because
abated, there's
tile underneath
asbestos, and every time I turn around, they found it.
Well, we account for it everywhere. So, for example, even in major maintenance, there's a code for
Yeah.
No.
abatement, hazardous material, which includes lead and mercury as well. So there's avenues to deal with it.
Okay. Well, I was just curious.
Okay. So I'm assuming you don't have any emergencies that you're asking for in this budget.
No, probably not. I wouldn't say we don't have.
Bringing,
I wouldn't say we don't have any
Bring it.
emergencies.
stay drinking.
It's preventing students from attending a school.
Troy's sitting there with a smile on his face.
Yeah.
He's like, didn't we already go down this road once, Troy?
So Troy, would you recommend they come to the May or the June?
Whenever Fremont 25 is presented.
Just come in right behind them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, we're going to present to them. We're going to be done with facility planning. We'll present to them. Here are the opportunities for studies like this across state. Now, and then we can come back. So there's ones. So, and this is part of Shelby's concern. It like with Fremont 25. What instigated the study? Okay, was it just like pie in the sky? We want to do it? No. It had a .4 something building. That's what.
It's on
Right?
the list.
That's on the list. Okay, so this one is on the list. .4. We've addressed all the other .4s. What's instigating the study? What's the reasoning? It's the .4 status. That's why
true.
we would make a recommendation to a study with this district.
And what'd be nice is have
Not to
something
mention
outside
there
the,
are
the dimensions of the town and everything
Yes.
else come in and say, this is what you
That
do.
organically just comes into the report.
Because everybody that's connected with it is connected to it. Don't see it.
And then what you should do is then the next commission meeting you should schedule for Wheatland. Bring him to Wheatland.
Well, we could certainly do that next year. We're already scheduled through the year.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and we are starting to go, as you all know, we're starting to go into a lot of the school districts and the state, kind of spread the love.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those of us on the east
Kids
side.
out in front of the Cubs. Oh.
Okay, I think.
Or banners.
Great. I think we've talked about it. So SFD, this is just your, I think this is what we've been talking about, right?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, we're pretty well, and I think you guys know where we stand. SFD recognizes challenges associated with excess square footage. We'll continue to work with the district to explore options. Okay? So with that, we'll see see what that presentation looks like to the commission, and hopefully we can move forward with the study in your district to help you guys at least explore opportunities and options, right? So,
So with the, so do you anticipate with the changes in the model, the reductions there, is that gonna lessen major maintenance too?
It doesn't increase, it won't lessen.
Yeah, you talking about how they take the 2 snapshots in time? One, I think.
Well, no, I'm just talking about,
The CRB and all that.
I don't know what all comes into play on the major maintenance.
You'll get
only
more
thing I
money
Or
this year.
more money?
Yeah, because our speeds went up. That's one of the drivers.
The ADM is the biggest driver, and it really depends
Yeah.
on what they do with ADM.
Yeah.
It seems like, from what we've heard, that they're lessening some of the restrictions on ADM.
we've heard both though.
But we have heard both, you're
We've
right.
heard districts say that that's not necessarily true. So I don't know what your interpretation, we haven't been following that.
They're changing it, they're changing ADM, how it's calculated from a school base number to a district. And I don't know how they do that. I can look at the model and I mean, you see each school
Yeah.
and then a total at the bottom and that's their district. I don't know how that.
We're sure it needs more money for you.
Well, that's gonna be the biggest driver, honestly, that'll be your biggest driver, is what they do with ADM.
Yeah.
And if they change it and it's beneficial and it reports more, then that'll change your major maintenance for the better, because that's one of the main drivers. And if it reports it to the lesser, then it will have another effect, the opposite effect on that. And so that's what, that much I can tell you. That's about it though.
Okay, anything else, district? Staff?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, I'll go ahead and shut the meeting then. Thank you for coming.
And you said that